cheddars. Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 15th of May 2011. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Robert Kemp.
Yeah.
And Zachary Burgess.
Having fun with new recording setups, sort of.
Trying new software, having fun with it.
We seem to need to change nearly every time sometimes, some aspect of our recording setup. This is the second time for the long cable of USB-ness.
Yep.
The first time for, what is it?
We're invested in sound booth.
Invested.
Yeah, well, we can't really talk much about that.
No.
You know, because you had a problem with product placement earlier, which is in a podcast entirely about products.
Well, very specific products, though.
So far, we've had two products featured in this week's cast. We've had both
Mini cheddars
and sound booth. Is it McVitie's that do mini cheddars?
I think so.
Yes.
That sounds right. McVitie's mini cheddars.
What, do you think just because it's alliterative it must be...
No, not just because it's alliterative. It just sounds like something that I've heard before.
Yeah.
I think it is McVitie's.
But you don't think they're properly biscuits, so you don't think they count?
No. For our biscuit intros.
They're kind of both, aren't they? They're a crisp skit.
Is it like
They're
Jaffa cakes, where Jaffa
kind.
cakes are cakes? But what are these? Crackers?
Crackers.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose their crackers is a better...
Although I don't think...
But they're not so...
they're not cracking.
Yeah, they're not cracky. They
They
don't
do,
split
they don't,
them.
like-
They sort of crumble a bit like a biscuit.
Yeah, biscuits crumble, don't they?
Yeah, but mini cheddars don't crumble that much. They do snap.
Or do you mean they
break
sort
them.
of,
Digestive snap, though, don't they?
they flake in small pieces?
And so do most biscuits, really.
This is
The
an
biscuits crumble.
edifying conversation.
Biscuits crumble, fuckers. As do cakes.
What was the legal definition of biscuit that they used in that?
It's
court
because
case?
they soften when they get
old.
whereas cakes harden.
But what about mini cheddars? They soften, surely.
I think they do soften.
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, almost inevitably.
So they're a biscuit.
But they're not. They're actually a cracker. Crackers soften when they get old.
That's true, they do.
That's true.
Acid
So how
cracker.
do you separate crackers from biscuits then? Are they more used for savoury?
Yeah, I guess it's sweetness, probably.
Who was that dude that would say acid cracker? We should get him to authenticate it like that Banzai
Yeah.
sketch.
That one time.
Yeah, acid cracker. That's not a cracker.
Okay. So you could reference over.
I can't remember who that was.
Let's get generic podcast racism in already. But did you know, I'd heard recently, but I think it's fairly common, but in America, like, black people sometimes say it as like an epithet towards like...
Oh, yeah.
Those like rednecks, I suppose, or like poor
Cracker.
white trash, they call them crackers.
Yeah, I thought that was a generic term for a white person rather than actually being...
I didn't think it was from blacks to whites necessarily.
I was about to say, rather than sort of like channeling it towards some kind of subspecies.
Okay.
There's a bit of like possible racism there. Rednecks are a subspecies.
And they're all monkeys, as we discussed last week. Joining us again on the evolution/racism podcast.
That would be the best podcast.
No, this
That's
podcast...
a great combination of topics.
It's basically the eugenics podcast, basically. I don't know. So this podcast is actually about video games.
Video games.
So let's get back on the track of that.
Really? It's only been like...
There's been like 4 minutes of madness.
Okay, go ahead.
You can't put the pressure on it, but that immediately fucks it all up.
But this whole thing is pressure to come up with madness. That's what happens when we press the record button. The pressure starts for madness to come.
Yeah, but we never succeed. We always just talk about video games.
You have the premise of an introduction to create craziness rather than...
And now we're analysing our own podcast again. We haven't done this for a while. Oh,
That's
wait,
true.
apart from every week.
Welcome again to Podcast Analysis Corner.
Market research on ourselves.
So if we don't like it, what the fuck are we doing wrong?
Well, exactly, you got to like what you make, like any artist, you know. It'd be a pretty shallow musician who goes out of his way to write something, and at the end of it goes, that's shit, ship it.
But like most artists that I know, don't
Some
like
do.
what they make
Well, no,
all
that's
the
not
time.
That's not artists. It's the kind of the guys that would ship shit are not the artists. They're the managers that sort of go, let's get a Christmas single out. Let's
just shit this shit out the door as fast as possible.
and let's involve the Smurfs. That'll work.
That'll work. Any artistic endeavour known to man. Involve the Smurfs. We need blue people. More blue people. It's like...
They missed a trick on Blue Davide.
It's like James Cameron's like, I'm going to make this awesome new sci-fi movie and it's going to be all CGI and all crazy. And then marketing guys like, involve the Smurfs. We need the Smurfs. It's like, well, okay.
We'll just make the aliens blue.
Just make the blue. Okay, that'll do.
Hey, Papa Smurf.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's another terrible, terrible reference.
What was that?
Hey, Papa Smurf, can you lick my ass?
Oh, thanks for making that more obvious there.
It's going so well.
I was glad when I knew what that was and no one else did, but then you had to go and spell it out. Thanks.
Yeah, I was about to call it a classic, but I'm not entirely
Well,
sure.
it is. My internet status is about 1 million years old now.
Yeah, it's of classic age. That doesn't mean that it's actually classic.
It's confusing because anything on the internet is old within like an hour or something. I don't know
much.
what.
Old meme is old.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very old. Millhouse is not a meme.
What was it that sent you a message this week? Came up with the steak bake as a fake in an attempt to create a Portal-based meme.
Oh, is this back to Portal meme news?
Yeah,
There's no steak bacon.
No, there isn't. They were doing a Portal spin-off kind of thing where it was run by Gladys.
Wow,
Yeah.
comedy.
The steak bake is a fake. Yeah.
Speaking of which,
I could go for a steak bake.
It's
5 o'clock, goddammit!
Zach was complaining before we started this. It's like, we're not going to eat till like 7.
what is a steak bake then?
I think it's like a
chicken and bacon bake.
Yeah, chicken and no, that's like a pasta dish with chicken and bacon. Like
It
a
had
pasta
pasta
bake.
in it.
Yeah, it was a pasta bake.
It was not.
Oh no, you're right. Sorry, it's a potato bake.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry,
But has it got
the
steak
chicken
in
and
it?
bacon bake. Yeah. This
Chicken and bacon
this
bake.
well,
This is
yeah.
steak
In the
bake.
context of this show, it turned out to be a bit like a Ginster's pasty, but
Oh, I see.
Because Americans don't know what pasties are, basically.
Yeah.
well, like a sausage roll, but replace the sausage in the roll with like stew.
Pasties.
Yeah. And close it off at each end so the stew doesn't leak.
Yeah. It's like putting sauce with chunky bits inside pastry.
It's a pasty.
That's a pasty. Well, yeah, but because Americans
But
don't
Americans
know
don't
what
know
a
what it
pasty
was.
is, so I was explaining what a pasty was.
Yeah. Okay, it's a steak bake.
I thought that was it's a steak bake.
Next time you buy a pasty, be sure to call it a steak bake, because that will be...
Oh, I'm going to have a chicken and mushroom bake from Ginster's. They do those as well.
Yeah.
Oh, the chicken slice or tikka slices, aren't they? That's what they sort of tend to call them. They just call them slices. They don't actually allude to any of the pastry element of the slice.
The pasty does.
It's just the slice of the thing that's in it. So it's like if chicken and mushroom was one entity and we sliced it somehow. This is what we'll name our product. Fuck the pastry. It's
Okay.
for some reason I got like a some kind of movement, rights movement. Like, fuck the pastry.
I was thinking, fuck the pastry coming straight from the underground. I think of the whole song there.
Fuck the pastry. Oh dear.
Okay. Well, we
That's the sound of the
doubled
pastry.
the amount of madness. Now we can go to video games.
If you think so, if you don't think pasties is a subject that needs
I
more
think we've covered them
explanation.
fairly well.
Well,
I've been having those tikka like pasty slices things because they have them like already heated up in the co-op, whatever.
Oh god.
So there's like a counter which is, or whatever it
Yeah.
is, a cabinet which is all heated rather than the opposite of a freezer cabinet. And they have like, they're the ones I get.
At least it's not hot dogs.
So like a quid, which is like a sandwich is like $2.50 or something, and you get this like chicken tikka slicey thing in the jig, which is all hot and everything for £1.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to do some promotion now of somewhere I can no longer go. But in Claydon there was like not because I'm banned from it or anything, but
You no longer work there.
yeah, because I no longer work in Claydon. There's this little sandwich shop called Fresh Fills, which is pretty damn sweet. I used to go there and do their £3 meal deal of a sandwich, crisps, and a bottle of drink, which is like £3 bonus. But they do these interesting. They have like sausage rolls and like they actually do a Savoy roll as well. But one of the rolls they do is what they call the breakfast roll. But it's as you expect, it has the bacon, it has the sausage in there, but it also has baked beans in the roll. It's like a proper full English breakfast in a pastry.
Not quite full though. It's not
Well, no,
like
I think
black pudding, is it?
Well, no, maybe not. Well, black pudding's fairly.
Where's them in there?
It's not often in like a full English. I suppose it's got a bit of a bad rep nowadays.
Do hash browns go in? Because they're kind of American, aren't they? Are they in
No,
the
hash
full
browns
English?
are... Well, there's two forms of hash brown, isn't there?
Oh, you're right.
There's the British hash brown, which is like a triangle potato rosti, and the American hash brown, which is an entire plate of incredibly
you're right.
thin, crispy potato rosti. It's like pretty much the same thing, but just in a different shape, and the American version is crispier and actually more awesome. They win that round.
Yeah, they certainly do.
I
Full
prefer
English
that
is
one.
good. Full English is good.
But that was a very specific little product place. It's like you literally advertise an actual shop,
Yeah.
in an actual place,
Who's
and
gonna go
they
to
named it by name.
But it is awesome. But there is a...
Is it Fresh Phil's like PH, like the name of the guy's film?
No, unfortunately not. Although there is an
Buy
American...
your fresh fill.
From Fresh Phil's.
There is
That's kind
a...
of creepy.
There's an unrelated sandwich store in the middle of Ipswich which has an incredibly similar name, but obviously they had to gangster it up slightly, so it's Fresh Fillaz. Fillaz.
I always like Arnie Sarnies, that's always the best
Oh,
name.
that's right. There's another one in town that
You'll be back, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Arnie Sardis, you'll be back. But there's another one in town that I can't believe I hadn't noticed before, but it's called Rumbles, which is a bit of a strange name for a sandwich bar. It's like, come to Rumble. You'll come out considerably fatter.
Chunk.
That would be a great.
rumble.
That would be a great tagline for any kind of restaurant or anything.
You'll
You'll
come
come out
out.
considerably fatter.
I suppose that's how Fatty Arbuckles sort of alluded to that in their name.
Yeah, sort of. But they didn't say it in plain English, which makes it infinitely funnier.
You will have stones.
You'll come out fat. Go in thin, come out fat.
Pile them on.
So
Well, that's 3 times the ladder, so we done that.
Or just have
you're the one that wanted it to continue, man.
Could you put like a tagline for one of these places as the anti-gym or something?
Well, that was my classic idea of, like, how to make the excuse of going down the pub. You just name a pub the gym. Like, I'm going down the gym.
And I was like, alright.
Was it hard work? Totally. Rubbing your stomach.
That's the obvious string of pub names.
I got a sweat on. I got the
'Cause
beef sweat.
It's like it's what you always do with pubs. It's like, I'm going down the insert name of pub. Like, call them something hilarious because it makes it so much more awesome. Rather than like the one in Needham, which is it's the rampant horse. Apart from everyone just calls it the ramp. I'm going down the ramp.
Yes.
There's, I can't remember where it is. It's nearby, but I always snigger when I see a pub. There's a pub called the Cock Inn.
Okay.
It's just like, Cock Inn.
Doesn't work if you say you're going down the cock in though.
I'm going down
That
the Cock
sounds
Inn.
pretty
But that's the
bad.
thing, you could just add pub on the end. It's like, I'm going down the Cock Inn pub.
I see.
Although then you are calling
In
it
pub.
an
That is
pub.
redundant, isn't it? In pub.
It's like calling it a crack hole, but you know,
Oh, I see.
a hole. Which is
I
a
don't
crack.
think that's why it's called a crack hole. I don't think they're inferring that the place you get crack is a hole.
No, it's
As
about
in,
it
as in
literally.
not a hole, as in like a shitty place.
It was a bad
That's
example.
what it
of,
means, shitty place.
But I don't think that's actually what they're saying.
not like a drug shit place. No, that's not what I meant by it. But like the crack and hole could mean similar things.
Yes, I know that's what you meant.
Crack
But
hole.
it's just that the drug happens to be called crack.
Yeah.
It's not. They didn't come up with that name because the drug is like somehow formed out of cracks or something.
Where does the name crack come from?
It's like,
It's cracked, isn't it?
it is. Yeah,
It's
it's
something.
like
It's something they do to.
cocaine. It's
Cocaine,
like
which
it's like
makes it
in
crack.
rocks, isn't
Yeah,
it? And
so-
it like I think it's
Crackles.
crackly. I think because it's the cheap.
We don't
stuff,
know
isn't
anything
it?
about drugs, so I guess
We
there you
don't,
go.
because proper cocaine use like the stuff you sniff up, but crack cocaine is the stuff that
It's funny you should talk about crack.
that's cheap.
Because every time someone says crack, I'll think of crack. And I
I
fucking love crack.
Peep show. Right, enough references and bizarre talks.
Yeah, I think we did well.
Back to computer games. Rubber Camp.
Are you going to start with me? I'm actually struggling to think of what I've actually been doing this week.
Oh, okay.
Lots of
You already
Batman.
told me twice.
I can
Lots of
confirm
Batman.
that. Okay. Batman. Arkham Asylum.
Again.
Yeah, it's got Batman in it. I can tell you that
Continued.
much. Yeah,
How's it going,
it's,
man?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I am enjoying it. I've got to the stage, I think, where I'm at the finale, or the finale's about to happen.
Have you been invited to the party?
There are fireworks and stuff, so I'm now spending my time doing all the Riddler shit now that... Well, I don't know if I should go into how much... Yeah, we can go into spoiler territory in this. It's like a year and a bit old.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
It's pretty ancient.
Yeah, so basically the poison ivy's plants sort of take over the entire place, don't they?
Yeah.
And that gets really fucking annoying, because at that point in the game, you've basically... Soon after that, you've got all the abilities, haven't you? So you can actually start getting to places pretty much everywhere in the game.
Yeah.
You can reach.
But those goddamn plants
But those plants start blocking things. So they give you that ability, and then they take it away from you by fucking the environment up. And it's like, you bastards, I'm going to have to wait to do this. And then you're still going around certain bits of the level which you haven't been before, but there's stuff in the way that you can't get to. So it's like, damn it, I know there's a riddle challenge I need to get right there, but I can't reach it because of this organic shit.
Plant stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Taking over the whole island.
I have to say, Poison Ivy was actually probably one of the worst bits of the game.
Yeah.
That boss fight is fucking irritating.
It's like
and
nothing
goes on
else.
forever.
It's like nothing else in the whole game, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, not that I have a problem with it in the sense that it was different, because it was different from the entire game, because all of the boss fights relate to those Titan guys.
Yeah, they do.
It's like they're not really bosses, they're just the same sort of shambling large thing from Gears of War like 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
and
Berserkers, I found out they're called, not Berthers. We call them
Berthers. Yeah, Berserkers.
Berserkers.
Yeah, they're basically just Berserkers. So every boss fight is basically a Berserker. And it's the same one, with the same tactics you have to apply, just with perhaps a few more minions thrown in.
Did you do the one where you come up and... Or there's elevators and
and it drops you in.
It's really hard.
That's quite a difficult one, yeah. It took me a little while, that one, simply because I have problems with the...
It's probably the toughest fight in the game.
I know what you were saying.
I hope that got on the recording. The ice cream van just drove past. Ding, 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 ding.
There. Now it's on the recording.
Oh man, that was
a
great.
moment of silence for the ice cream van.
You have a local ice cream van.
Beware of
Good
children.
times.
You might not be able to hear that, actually. It's not spiking on the levels. So
That levels bar seems quite slow to update though, so it might slip through on the low end.
We shall see.
Yeah, anyway. Ice cream van. Ding ding! Should we fill in the gap just to make sure they know what it sounded like? Ding 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 ding!
Although I heard the ice cream van in Needham again the other day, but it's changed its tune and I can't remember what it was. But
What,
it was something...
from Greensleeves?
I can't remember. It was like, I heard it in the distance and I was like, wait, that's an actual song, what are you doing?
Well, like a pop song.
Yeah.
There's something quite disturbing about an ice cream van playing Greensleeves. I don't know, it just sort of strikes me as a little bit creepy. Ding, 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 ding. It's like the child catcher.
That
in
is
Ice
a kind of
Cream
a
Van
classic though, isn't it? Of ice cream van tunes.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I don't know, I just find it creepy. It just reminds me of the child catcher.
What, you mean?
Leading kids down the road or something like the Pied Piper, only to lure them in. Oh, would you like ice cream? Mine.
Yeah, grab,
stolen, drive.
Pinocchio.
Anyway, Poison Ivy. Yeah, where was I? Games.
Something about
it's just all the Titans and shit. Yeah, I thought that was probably the laziest element of the game, and I found the Killer Croc section kind of irritating.
Yeah,
as well. But mainly because the ending of it is shit. I'll go as far as to say the ending of that section is actually quite crap, because you suddenly have that sudden run, don't you, where Croc's chasing you.
Yeah, and you have to run.
And this
all the way
time you
back.
can't stun him, and so you actually have to run back to where the entrance is, and then you blow up the
thing,
gel you left behind. Except getting that to blow up sort of didn't work for me at least 3 times in a row.
Oh shit!
So, and it was a bit inconsistent because I could stun him with the Batarang while he was doing that last run, and it's like then he'd sort of stop for a bit, and it's like, all right, okay, no worries, I'll do it again when he gets a bit closer, and that'll buy me some time to blow it up. Maybe that's what I've got to do. Except when he gets into the tunnel bit, then your stun stops working. It's like, oh damn it, that's kind of inconsistent and a bit crap. That's
a bit crazy. I don't think I stunned him at all in that final section.
No, well, that was how I did it in the end, was to just get lucky, and then it just happened to work for me. But I found that timing at the end just didn't seem to work half the time, and then of course it puts you back right to the start of that chase sequence, so you have to go through that. And the music in that section is obnoxiously sort of OTT. Because it's deadly silent.
Super quiet beforehand, isn't it?
It's kind of cool, but it's just the music itself is like not very inspiring. It's like let me try and demonstrate for you. It's like it's very quiet. sneaking around. You're supposed to stay quiet on the water so he doesn't hear you. And then all of a sudden you hear sort of like a from like the corner, and it's like he's going to jump in a minute, isn't he? And then it goes Bring! And the music starts going bum 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 bum. And then he falls in the water, and it's like bum 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 bum. And it's like you could have thought a little bit harder about that.
Yeah, it could have been a bit more subtle. Yeah.
Bum 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 bum.
I don't know. The whole section is kind of crazy. Like the first time I did I moved so slowly, and you can actually move surprisingly
You can move
fast
at full speed while crouched.
But I didn't know that, so it took me forever because I was going at like the slowest that I could move.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was.
I did that for a bit, and then got bored of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, fuck it, if he's coming, I'm just going to rang him.
Exactly.
So
you get into it, don't you?
Yeah.
But it's a bit mazy down there, but it's not so hard to
No, that was alright. That wasn't so bad. I mean, it's quite a nice... That sequence, I can imagine... what I'm trying to sort of think of as I'm playing through this game is I'm trying to remember that it's designed for 3D in a lot of places. So it's like that chase sequence actually probably would have looked pretty sweet in 3D because of the tunnelness of it. So you would have had a nice sense of depth, and you're running towards the screen, kind of Naughty Dog style.
Yeah.
And it's that would have looked good. And speaking of things that would have looked good in 3D, oh my god, the Scarecrow sequences are awesome.
They're crazy, aren't they?
They're amazing. The last one is particularly good because of the. Did you talk about this before, where you actually thought the game had gone wrong and reset the Xbox?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a. You're supposed to think that it's kind of a Metal Gear Solid style trick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
That's pretty cool because they don't just do that. You're not the only one to have fallen for it. Friend of the show, Jay, has basically did the same thing. He turned his computer off thinking that it had frozen and had exactly the same problem until he noticed that the bits of the sequence were different.
Well, I think I kind of knew, because the thing is, it kind of is a giveaway, because anytime Batman starts coughing, you know it's coming.
Oh yeah, there's actually you listen out for the gas noise, because there'll be a vent that looks extra smoky somewhere, and you get a precursor to something's actually happened.
You do know that something's going to happen.
You notice that the second time, the second time something happens, you walk through a door that's literally flanked by two vents that seem to be pushing out smoke.
Yeah.
And it's at that point you think, oh, is this going to happen again?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it is.
It is.
And, yeah. So, I don't know, it's really cool. It's just done well. The best bit of that is where you get that whole intro sequence that's twisted in Joker's favour, which is really cool. And including the fake game over screen, that then it gives you a hint. And even the hint on that screen is brilliant, because it says... use the middle stick to avoid the gunshot, and you're just looking at your controller going, got a left stick,
I got a
right stick. What the fuck is the middle stick? And it's like, oh wait, this is a ploy as well. I didn't have to do anything there. Hit retry, and of course you get the I'm coming alive from the grave sort of crazy sequence. It's just awesome.
It's really cool, isn't it?
And it's like that whole section where you actually have to hide from Scarecrow's gaze. That would look great in 3D because of all the physics going on and all the sweeping papers and the crazy wind. And it's like, oh, that would look amazing.
It's a bit of a shame that those sections have a kind of instant fail kind of thing. I don't know how else they could have done it, but it's kind of annoying. It's like, I see you, and then... Wah, wah.
It's like when you're trying to... Sometimes his vision patterns aren't quite so obvious, or the window of opportunity is minute on a couple of the runs. Or you get a bit confused. Like on the last one, you start seeing even more weird stuff, don't you? Because Batman sees himself in mental states. And there's that one particular bit where the Scarecrow's kind of like doing creepy hands next to your chair. And you seem to be sat in the chair and like moping your head about like a torture victim or something. It's like, oh, I'm actually supposed to intervene in this one.
Yeah.
So you get up and it's like, I see you. Oh no, maybe not.
Maybe I was supposed to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it's a bit confusing, but I suppose that's maybe the point. But yeah, it is good.
I mean, is it the first one where you turn into Bruce Wayne as a boy or whatever? And
Second one.
That one's nice as well. It's not as dramatic as obviously the third one, but it is good.
Well, yeah, I just thought even the first one was nicely done because it's when you don't really expect it because you think, oh, maybe this is a slightly maybe this Morgue I'm walking into is creepy in general anyway. Things are just happening. You just think, oh, well, maybe it's just part of the room. It's a bit different, but it's part of the room. Oh wait, I can't get to inspector mode. That's fine. There's probably just not something to happen. And then you walk out of the doors of the morgue, and you're back in the same morgue. It's like, okay, wasn't expecting that. It's like, what the fuck's going on now? And it's like that just the way it introduces you, the whole idea is slick.
Yeah,
so slick.
It's really well done.
So the direction of that game is fantastic. It's more about that, I think, than actually most of the gameplay, because the actual gameplay highlights come from the combat.
They do,
and which leads me actually to where I want to go on my normal flaw spotting. There are bits of the combat that I don't like. Guys with the electric sticks, for instance, are fucking irritating because you can accidentally hit the stick while punching someone else.
Yeah, you have to kind of prioritise those kind of guys as like instant takedown guys, because if you build up your combo enough for an instant takedown, I think you can go straight forward.
Yeah, but the problem is they tend to get really... The reason why I don't like them is because they don't give you the ground like some of the other guys do. They'll sort of hold their... stand back a bit while you're flailing around, but the electro stick guys will make an effort to get right next to you. And then at that point, there's pretty much... Even if you don't target the guys and you're trying to get away from you, a bit of your foot will just clip the stick or something while you're diving away madly, and that will bring you right back out of the flow. And it's like, oh damn, now I can't take down him on my next shot, and it's that gets really irritating. And I find the whole cloak spin to sort of annoy
the stun for the knife guys.
Yeah, is a bit dodgy as well. Just getting it to do it at the right time seems to be a bit tricky. The rest of the combat flow is great, I have to admit. It's just those two elements seem to be a little bit less intuitive. A little bit. I didn't actually have much choice in how that was turning out. My skill couldn't have changed the outcome there. And
well, I definitely found it...
Which feels out of place for the rest of the game.
Yeah, because so much is in control.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely found that I could bash my way through it the first time, without really understanding how the combat worked. Once I took the time to learn it in the challenge mode, it wasn't necessary for the game or even enjoyment of the game. But some of those little things, you find out ways of doing it that mean that you're always in control. Yeah,
it's like I haven't really used the back claw ability in combat. I've done it a couple of times during the stealth sections, it's actually quite a good tactic against guys with guns, is to grab them and pull them forward, so they stumble, and then launch your attack then.
Yeah, that works well.
I did find there's a couple of the stealth sections where it forces you to not be spotted. And I felt, like practically any stealth section in any game, they were kind of irritating. Yeah. Because there are times where it's like, oh, actually, I had no way out of that scenario, and it's like balls. Or you're just trying to figure out the environment. Like there's one of those, isn't there, in the botanical gardens, where if you get spotted, they drop the innocents down an infinite pit.
That's right. Yeah,
and
that section's quite good.
It's just it was an all right section, but the problem I had with it was spotting where you could go.
It's very dark in there, isn't it?
It's quite dark. You have to use inspector mode to see where you're going, and some of the routes you can take are really, really well concealed.
Because you have to get to the top, don't you?
Yeah. It's a pretty linear path, but some of the guys if they don't entirely follow patrols, do they? There's a sort of bit of AI to the guys to the dudes in Batman. So sometimes despite your best efforts, they'll take a different route all of a sudden, and you'll get spotted in the middle of a glide kick and shot out the air or something during some of the take every guy out in this room sections. And
Predator sections.
Yeah, and it's like at that point you just go, especially if it's like there's only like 2 or 3 dudes left, and you've taken out like 4 beforehand, and then suddenly someone will just notice you in the middle of an attack, and it's like, damn, I've got guns on me, damn, I'm dead. I'm going to have to do that entire thing, and it wasn't my fault just because the guy turned around at a time he hasn't done before, and it's like, balls. But I suppose that is the essence of stealth, but for the essence of a game that is quite gamey, because of the AI's limited vision and the AI.
I mean, it's not Splinter Cell, is it?
No. You can hang, you can do stuff a couple of feet elevated outside of their field of view, or take off a grating and hang it off the wall when they're walking right towards you, just a couple of feet below, and they don't see it.
They don't see it,
and then all of a sudden they'll spot you from half the room away because of because of something you couldn't see, and they'll see you really easily all of a sudden. It's and then you get shot and most of your health is gone. It's like, fuck. Yeah. One thing I couldn't predict and I'm dead, and then now I've got to do that entire sequence again. And it's like, that's quite irritating. I mean, I always get in two minds about things like that, where it puts you back a long way, or seemingly a reasonable distance. Something that took you a while to plan and execute, and then it puts you back. Because the hardcore side of me goes, well, yeah, that's gaming, isn't it?
Fair enough.
It's like the old school gaming, where if you fucked up, you probably had an hour of progress to get back to where you were. But it's like, the modern gamer in me goes, yeah, but it's just frustrating, and games are supposed to be for enjoyment. And
yeah. I guess because it's only a specific task that you have to redo rather than the whole... Because they're in like arenas, aren't they?
Yeah.
Once you get over it, it's not all the same like a shooter where the next bit is going to be shooting and the next bit's going to be shooting. It's more like, go back to the start of this section where you're doing this particular thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be a long way. If you have to take out 7 guys or something, that can easily be 10 minutes or more.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if it only reset you back half that distance, then... you might be halfway through your plan, and then you could like tweak execute it. It's like having quick saves almost then. Whereas it's like, now maybe try a different tactic because that didn't work so well or something.
Yeah, it's a tiny bit. Again, inconsistent is the word I think I'd used about some of Batman's mechanics, because there's the silent takedown thing, which you can use practically within feet of someone else, and they won't notice that it's happened. Where, even if you think they could probably see it out of their peripheral vision, they won't.
Don't, yeah, because they have conical vision.
Yeah, if you stun someone from afar, like using a batarang, sometimes they'll go down and go into the dazed state without their guys nearby noticing, which is fine, except for then your only choice of takedown is a noisy style. And it's like, well, can't I silent take down the guy that's already been silently flawed? And it's like, no, you can't do that. So you go in for the punch, and then everyone notices you, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah, that is a problem. That I haven't really. Yeah.
So it kind of takes away a lot of the strategy you could employ because it suddenly becomes useless because they make noise.
Certain movesets only work.
Yeah, so it's, in that scenario, that would have been a great one for, actually, I could still silently take this guy down because I've managed to silently throw a big metal object at him and no one's noticed.
Yeah.
It's like, conceptually it sounds mental that they'd hear it, but then they don't hear totally obvious stuff the rest of the time, so you get into this weird false sense of security. They think, I can get away with this then, can't I? No.
How did you find the booby-trapped gargoyles in the later sections?
That was alright. That was quite cool, actually, because it meant you had to do it differently. There was a couple of sections where I found that irritating, because I was in a grate at one point, waiting to pounce on this guy who was just standing there. So I jump out... no, I didn't actually get to jumping out of the gate, because he just sort of turned round, and I wasn't expecting him to sort of... At no point in the game so far had anybody seen me when I was right underneath them in the grates. So this guy turns around and goes... Oh, he's right there, and starts shooting me, and it's like, damn it! Hang on, suddenly they can see me in these things. Okay.
I don't think I've been spotted in those grates before, but I think that's just luck.
It did give me a hint saying they will look in the grates if they're alerted, so when they're in that sort of middle state. But he wasn't in middle state, he was in calm state.
Right. Well, do they look in the entrances to the grates, and not the middle sort of...
it was one of the, when I say grates, it was in one of those ones where you get those panels above you that you can jump out of vertically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you can go into any one of those, can't you? Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So it's just like, they haven't done that before. That's a bit...
They're quite cool, though, those little gratey sections.
Yeah, I didn't really use them much, to be honest. I sort of find them afterwards and think, this is possibly a Riddler bit, and then you discover, it's actually just part of the section.
Yeah, well, sometimes there are Riddler things down there. But yeah. Often it's like an additional stealth route.
By that point, it's like you don't really need it.
Because there's that huge Predator thing towards the end where it's like a pumping station or something at the end, but that's like the biggest area, and there's so many routes around and like different exploding walls, and there's grates under there. I think there's like 10 guys or something. I think those sections would have been better if they hadn't tried to do the concept of the neck braces. So when you kill someone, they alert or knock them out or something. The neck thing they're wearing alerts everyone else to the fact that they've been downed. Yeah, I think those sections would have been better if they hadn't had that, because then you have to. All it means is that there's a lot more downtime. As soon as you knock someone out, you have to get out of there fast and wait,
because they'll all get attracted to the corpse, and then you've just got literally, as you say, you've just got to sit and wait until they spurse out again, and then they start doing clever things at that stage. Like some of the guys will stay in packs, making them
Yeah.
quite difficult to take down. As you know, you can only really take out the packed guys if they're the last guys about.
Yeah.
Because it will take you time to knock them both out, and
Yeah.
so
they stick together and they back each other
but
up.
then that means you just have to spend more time waiting for the opportunity to come up, and it's like it's not.
Depends how much you like sort of stalking
Yeah.
as a gameplay sort of thing. I don't know.
You know, it's kind of I get it in the sense that it is kind of what Batman does, but it's almost the time required is often too long, because then you're back in the scenario where if you make one mistake, you've spent even more time that it has to rewind to the start of the section, and it makes it more frustrating.
That's true. I like it when
It's
they
like
get
I
really
said-
stressed out though and start shooting at random things in the environment.
Yeah, that's
really
fun,
cool.
actually. That happened to me during that section. We
Yeah.
go back into the intensive treatment room
Yeah.
or something, and the sort of lobby for intensive treatment. And
Yeah.
there's with a few where I got shot in the grate actually, because after a while they did start going, because I used a few of the sonic batarangs to distract them, and then after a while, because they shoot the batarang, and then after a while they just start shooting at everything. And it's like that's cool. I've managed to freak these guys out properly.
Because there's like steam in that room, isn't there? And they start accidentally hitting. Do they? I don't know.
No, I don't think there is in that bit.
Oh, perhaps not. That might be a different area. Anyway, but you can see their heart rate, can't you, using the detective vision? And they get really freaked out and start shooting at random things. First time that happens, you're like, crap, they're shooting at me. It's like, no.
I think I've been pretty disciplined with the inspector mode, as I've been trying not to use it all the time. So when I'm actually I'll use it to find out where everyone is, and then when I actually go for the guy, I'll turn it off and watch it in proper mode. But
I always do that too.
I do kind of see why you could just. The game would probably be easier if I didn't mentally turn it off all the time. But I can see why you could play the entire game in blue vision.
I wouldn't want to, though. It looks too nice.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you're playing Metroid, I guess you do spend a long time in the scan visor. And
it does look like it'll be a lot nicer in the next one.
Yeah, do you know how have they sort of told us how they're going to make that change? Or
Well, I think I've seen a screenshot, and it looks a bit more sort of Matrixy rather than just all bright blue. It looks kind of grey. No, in a cool way. It's like a gunmetal.
They've recoloured it.
No, I don't know. It's hard to explain what I mean, but it outlines stuff, I think.
Oh, okay, so it's a bit like the what they called visor on ODST, where it sort of lit the environment around you a little bit.
I think it reminds me most of that.
Yeah, but then started giving you target information.
Yeah, I think ODST is probably that would be what it would be like.
That would be kind of useful actually, because it still got blocked by line of sight and things, so it would. It wasn't like skeleton through the wall level, so you'd have it. You can have it on all the time, but you'd still see the world, for what it was.
I think that might be. It'd be more like that.
That'd be cool.
Totally sure. Cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how. Because I know they obviously still have an awful lot of characters they could use. I'm a bit worried that they've possibly pulled on some of the more iconic ones in Arkham Asylum, leaving perhaps more of the lesser known ones.
Yeah, that may be true, but they can always use them again. That's the beauty of Batman comics.
Well, apart from... we don't know what happened to Scarecrow, but it looked like he got drowned.
It didn't look good, did
No.
it? They always come back. There's always some excuse, isn't there, in comics for why an enemy survived.
It makes no sense, to get drowned by Killer Croc, who literally eats people.
Yeah.
And then, he didn't eat me. It's fine.
No. There'll be some excuse where, he injected Killer Croc with gas and then...
Scarecrow is one of those weird characters, because I actually prefer his incarnation in the films to, as just a dude, to his...
Yeah.
To how he looks in...
Supernatural.
Because he kind of has one of those animated sack over his head, doesn't he? Where the teeth actually sort of move with a monstery sort of... Rather than just being a dude in a sack. I think I'd have liked it more if he was just wearing a mask with buttons on it and not necessarily having the stabby arms. And it's...
I don't know.
I think his characterization there probably would have been a slightly better as keeping on the realistic approach, but...
Yeah, you may be right.
But I see what you mean about there being quite a lot of brutality in the game compared to like, you know, how it's normally portrayed in like the cartoons and stuff, because you know it is quite horrible when you see like the mutations and
it's pretty gritty.
You know, yeah, the sequence where you see a dude getting titanized and the bits of his spinal column literally burst out of his skin, and it's like, that's kind of cool.
It's cool, isn't it? Yeah. I think they pitched it just right. With
It's not overly bloody. It's not like dismemberment gore fest. It's just the odd bit of, you know, it's happening, but it's not so totally in your face happening, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. Although there is a lot of death.
It's a lot of death. And they kind of sex up Harley Quinn a little bit, even though she is all whiny and stuff. But Harley Quinn's first appearance was in the animated series, the children's TV show.
Oh, was it?
And they brought her into comics and made her like this.
Okay, yeah.
I think she's a cool character, but obviously this is probably her most sort of adult interpretation.
With a short skirt rather than a cat suit.
Exactly.
But it's... I don't know how I feel about Harley Quinn, actually, because, you know, you say she's an interesting character, but at the core of it, she really isn't. She's just a whiny person who follows Joker.
Yeah.
And is desperate for his affection. And it's like, that's not really that interesting. That's just kind of... I've pretty much summed up her entire character there. It's like, the fact that her backstory, you know, she used to be one of Joker's doctors and Joker won her over. It's like, fine, there's a bit more substance to it. But
well, that comes out in those recordings, doesn't it?
But at the end of the day, her character is pretty one-dimensional as it stands.
Yeah, I guess. I just think she has a good design and a good interaction. She's quite a simple character.
As I say, she's done well in the game. Her role is portrayed as good as it could be.
Yeah.
But not actually that interesting a character.
No, perhaps not in terms of development and stuff. Yeah, definitely. No. Yeah. But she gets locked up fairly quick, doesn't she?
About halfway through the game.
Yeah, so
you take her out.
Cool. Do you think you'll try out any of the challenge mode
stuff? I probably will have a go at the challenges for the Chivo hunting.
Yeah.
But it's... Because, as you say, it's one of those games that does it. I'm not entirely sure I'll play through it again.
Yeah.
Not for a while, anyway.
Yeah. Well, you've got loads to do.
I've got lots to do.
I just felt like it, like, when I did it.
Don't get me wrong, there are a few games I play through and I think, I'll do that in hard mode straight away. You know, Halo being one of them. And
Halo I did too. Yeah.
The Gears of Wars I sort of did but never finished at the harder difficulty levels. You know, I went into them for... and Vanquish is the same one. As soon as I finished Vanquish, I started playing it again on a harder difficulty. And I've got about half of the way through that. Oh no, I'm not even halfway through that again. But, you know, it's like I had that desire straight away to try again in hard. And it's like this... I don't think I'll have that. In the same way that I didn't get it for Bioshock either. It's like, I played Bioshock 2 on the hard setting to begin with, so there was nowhere to go. But, you know, it's... I wouldn't have... Even on the first... I don't want to play it again. You know, it's... And I get the Batman's giving me that feeling at the moment. It's good, but... I'm not sure I want to do it again. Well, I think I had the same feeling about the Metroids, actually. I don't think I've gone back to any of the ones I've finished.
Mm-hmm.
Played it once and then didn't do it again.
Well, I had the classic thing with Metroids where I got right to the end and then stopped, and then it was like where I literally basically could go to the final boss rooms right this second. Then it was like, oh no, side stuff like random power-ups and shit I could find. Never going to do that, and then eventually that searching for side stuff kind of petered out, and then I came back like some time later, and it was like, I can't just go straight to the boss now. I have to play the whole game again in order to remember all the story. Just like Final Fantasy VII. God damn it!
Metroid, you don't really need to though, do you? Because it's not the story's.
Yeah, but it's not
very much an under thing.
Well, it's not just the story. It's like getting back into how the game works as well. Because it's like if you just go right in at the end where you've got all the power ups and everything, it's like I can't remember why I need all these or what the actual different points are.
Or in the case of some of the more complex ones, how I actually control it. Because it comes to the point where you've got all those like charge up extra ability things like super missiles, and then all the crazy other ones. And in Metroid Prime 2, you had to juggle the light and dark ammo as well. So it got quite complicated at the end to control.
How does Metroid Prime hold up? Should I play that game?
Yes.
Okay.
For the love of God, play it. It still stands up today.
Right.
You know, graphically it'll look a bit aged, but yeah. Yes, you may borrow it off.
Okay.
It's a must play if you like the Metroid style.
Okay.
You know, if you've got into Batman, you'll probably get into
this.
Batman.
Yeah, it always seemed a bit lonely though, like Metroid. Just
Yes.
in general. I know that's
that
kind
is
of
the point. Yeah.
I preferred the first Metroid Prime anyway to really any
The
other ones.
the first one is probably the best, actually.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know
The
why...
second one I didn't like the world so much.
Yeah.
Because of the light dark split. That meant all of the dark world looked the same.
Dark.
Yeah, it looked dark and purple, and it's like that wasn't very great. And Metroid Prime 3 did trying to mix things up a bit.
Yeah.
Is that the one on the Wii?
That's the one on the Wii. Yeah, the third one did try and mix things up a bit, but there was too much of an emphasis on. I don't know if I liked the fact that they added voice to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that really worked in its favour. Because Samus still didn't talk, but everyone else did.
Yeah, it was going for the silent protagonist style, but...
And it tried to put more of a story directly at you, but I don't think it worked.
No. Reading logs was surprisingly better
Yeah,
from the other games.
and they had to simplify the game mechanics for the Wii.
Well, yeah.
As well. So
although, I mean,
even compared to the first game, a lot of it is simplified.
Well, it's like the first-person shooting was more complicated because you actually had the option to be able to aim and stuff rather than just lock on.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was better, but the other bits that they had, the simplified bits that they did have to simplify, were worse.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about the first Metroid Prime, but I just really liked the way it felt on the controller, which is really strange. I don't know why. It's like using the C stick to change your gun was just kind of awesome, even though that was like that's just a button version. But for some reason, I thought that was kind of cool. It's like
it's because the Metroid control scheme is still unique.
Yeah,
they shunned dual stick control for this one stick movement, and it kind of works for it because it means you concentrate on the on your positioning more than you do your aim, and it gives you that impression. Because Samus has always had that sort of feel of being ultra mobile and ultra stuff, but somehow they pulled off being ultra mobile from the first person perspective because they kept all the fighting arenas nicely shaped so you don't get stuck on the terrain and shit.
I don't know if it was ultra mobile. I don't think there was actually that much of a perception.
If
you think about the old 2D games, she always stands incredibly upright and stiffly and is like chin, chin.
Oh yeah,
that's her animation.
But there's all the jumping and the
the jumping and stuff. But
is there a lot of sort of first-person platforming going on where you have to time jumps even though you're looking?
Not really time jumps. There is platforming, but not really moving platforms, I guess.
There's a few. Yeah, it's not a crazy amount though. It's more like getting the ability so you can do something.
Yeah.
Again, like Batman, as long as you have the ability to do it, then there's a couple of sections with an annoying climb, isn't there? Or the morph ball sections where you can fuck it up and fall back down. In classic platforming style. But
morph sections are always cool anyway.
Yeah.
Don't do them repeatedly just because they're awesome.
And again, they are a lot better in the first two games than they are in the third.
Yeah.
The Wii version of Metroid is a simplification. There's no other way to look at it, really. It's condensed. Still enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. It's still quite good, but
better than other M.
Yeah, and
that way.
And it has. The third one mixed it up by having the ability to sort of fast travel to an extent. Yet there were landing zones,
right,
where you could actually use your ship to skip to different sections and skip to different because you're sort of across different parts of the planet, aren't you? Or is it entire planets in 3?
Well, it's different planets, and there's I don't know if the parts always joined up, but they did most of the time, didn't they? You didn't have totally separate areas.
Well, there was. Apart from the space pirate planet,
well, yeah, I guess
you had to fly between sections to get to them there. But yeah, you're right. The other planets you could walk through the areas. But yeah, it's the first time they had this sort of skip about separated area thing. Whereas the first two games, you had to make the entire journey on foot, which again sort of worked. In those two games, it works fine because it's quite easy to get about and the levels are so well designed that they're well connected to each other.
Yeah, and lifts that kind of link into the important areas.
So actually getting to where you wanted to go wasn't a problem, even though you had to do it on foot, that's quite a feat.
I haven't seen a game with a 3D map like that for a while.
No, this is underused. And Metroid's implementation is great.
Yeah.
It's easy to see and practical. And yeah, there probably isn't a better implementation of the room-based 3D map.
Yeah.
It still is one of the best.
So
it's quality game. You should definitely play it.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see actually if because obviously I owned all the first three in the first place. Like what the Metroid collection was like because they weified the first two games.
Yeah.
So whether they actually had to simplify the game's mechanics to get it to work, or come up with an interesting control scheme to get it to work using the Metroid Prime 3 controls, which apparently they did. It'd be interesting to see how they did that because it seems like there's too many buttons.
Yeah.
Because you've lost the second stick to a point with the Wii controls, and you've lost the, or whether they gesturized more of it. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you were going to do the changing weapon thing, you could just somehow gesture it, like hold down a button and then wiggle it in a certain direction.
Yeah, or doing the super missiles or the difference between super missiles and normal missiles. And all. There's a lot of combos of buttons on. In the first two games.
I bet they use C and Z on the Wii controller, because no one ever does that.
Probably, yeah, it's probably a double press, isn't it?
Do you think they'll have stupid wheels and stuff for selecting things?
No, that's
Oh
not
god,
that
no. That would never work.
Okay, sorry, I don't know.
Yeah. They're bad at the best of times.
Right, I will get into playing some of that at some point. I've got to play Twilight Princess as well because I got my GameCube and I'm hopefully going to hook it up to the monitor. So because I found my VGA box.
Didn't you play through? Have you played through Twilight Princess?
No, I never got through it.
Did you see that awesome video of the preview video of Skyward Sword? Where if you play it backwards, it's Zelda's Lullaby.
Yeah. I did see
so
that.
Awesome.
That is cool, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
I'll show you that afterwards, right?
They're always clever with their their musical stuff.
It's like,
but
is that actually clever, or is that just really cheap?
Well, they do it. It's like,
oh, we've got this awesome tune. Let's just reverse all the notes, and then we aren't using.
Well, they're always doing something like that in music, aren't they? They're like inversions and stuff, aren't they? In order to conjure the feeling of something of a leitmotif that you've already had, but give it a new twist. Yeah. They're always doing something like. And this guy obviously thought, let's just reverse it. That'll do.
I can't say I have any anticipation for Skyward Sword.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen.
About it, really, so.
We don't know what's going to happen with this Wii 2 business. I mean, is it going to be a Wii title?
Yeah, is that going to cause Skyward Sword to be delayed for Wii, like Twilight Princess was
for GameCube?
They can't possibly.
Exactly, it has to be a Wii title. So that is the big question with
But
Skyward
then the trouble with that is, if it is a Wii title, it's like, then they need to make a Wii 2 Zelda.
Well, yeah, actually,
I know.
Thinking about it, it doesn't make
3DS one.
Thinking about it doesn't make sense for them to delay it this time because Wii 2 is almost certainly going to be a more powerful machine because they need to highlight HD and things like that. So
we don't even know that, but yeah,
no, but they pretty much have to. If they were to it made sense for Twilight Princess because the Wii is still GameCube power, pretty much. So actually, it wouldn't have made much difference. But this time, if they were to delay Skyward Sword for Wii 2, then they'd probably have to do a considerable workover, which isn't Ninty style.
So do you think Wii 2 will be a new architecture, or do you think it'll be 8 GameCubes taped together? Because I saw a joystick headline where they literally had a picture which was 8 GameCubes taped together with gaffer tape.
No, it's from the Project Cafe rumours.
Yeah.
It's likely to be sort of Xbox 360 powered. So, not powered. But,
that'll be 5 years behind.
That'd be great. It's just a Wii shell around an Xbox.
But yeah, it's supposed to be the equivalent of the 360's power.
Well, we shall see.
What is rumoured.
I bet it will have no fans or something, or it will be silent.
Well, yeah, presumably they could do that, like the revision of the the slim version of the 360.
They totally could not do that. Or more importantly, they shouldn't do that.
Well, yeah,
Stop trying to get rid of the fans in your things when it's clear that electronic products make heat.
Yeah.
Well, but tech improves and they make less heat. So 5 years down the line, they might actually be able to come up with an architecture and kit inside it that doesn't generate quite as bad fan requiring skills.
We shall see.
We just need quantum computers where resistance won't be a problem because you're not using actual physical wires or anything.
That's not, even if that does come in the next few years, which it won't, then it's not going to be in games consoles for at least another few years after that.
It was quite funny actually. In the last couple of weeks or something, I read an article saying they're reaching. The first article I read was going, Intel are a bit worried that they've sort of reached the theoretical limits of the current transistor design.
Yeah.
And then the following week...
There was a new design.
Actually, we've come up with a 3-dimensional transistor.
I saw that. Yeah.
Problem solved.
It did look cool, and apparently it's because it's proprietary. It means they have quite a big lead now on AMD or anybody else.
To be honest, they already had a ridiculous lead
Yeah.
on AMD. To be honest, because the i7 chip is so much more powerful than anything I've seen.
Yeah.
For the price, it's so much more powerful than anything I've seen from AMD. I could be wrong on that, but I just haven't seen AMD counter Intel's incredible sort of marketing move with the iChips.
I think they're doing well, but I think this transistor design obviously will apply to like mobile chips like ARM and stuff. So they've got a lead on everyone just having this tech. So we shall have to see how that goes.
Yeah. We could be seeing another massive jump in PC performance. Which
I don't know if
But we don't want that. We just want to go straight to quantum. skip all these new annoying jam more transistors into the same space.
Yeah, but it's because they haven't got quantum working yet.
Yeah.
They have, just not
Large scale.
not in a way that you could market.
Yeah.
When quantum works, the leap will be ridiculous.
Well,
It'll
yeah.
be like nothing
It'll
ever
be a
before.
quantum leap.
It will be a quantum leap. Anyway,
Oh,
so
God.
moving on, I'm going to quickly talk about what I've been playing. That's all right.
Yeah,
Anything
no, it's
else?
fine. We'll come back to me later.
Okay.
Will we?
I'll defer for now.
Well, let's have our short Portal section because I've played 2 hours of Portal.
Okay, so
Portal 2.
define where you've got to.
I've got to
I just looked
the
at his achievements and it was like...
Spoiler
I've
warning!
got-
Potential spoiler warning for the first 2 hours.
I've got to the first sort of confrontation with GLaDOS after having turned her on. So, like after the scanning the turrets.
after the
So you got to the
turrets
defective turrets bit.
Yeah, so
That's
I've
the
seen
only
defective
important
turrets.
Yeah,
I see defective turrets.
Aren't they awesome?
They're cool. I don't really understand why
They
the
have a different voice.
They have a different voice.
And a completely differently
Yeah.
designed.
Well, one, they have a different voice, and two, there's that one on that conveyor belt that says "I'm different" that you can rescue earlier on, which doesn't have a different voice. And
It's because it's built properly, and some of them say I'm different occasionally anyway.
oh, do they?
I
I
if they
assumed
do.
it
I
was
heard it 3 or 4 times during my playthrough.
because I heard it from the
Can't
little
remember
guy.
where else.
Because you
It's
get
like
an
you kill them
achievement
and they
for
sometimes
saving
say
that
I'm
guy,
different.
don't you? You get an achievement for saving that
Yeah,
guy on
I
the
forgot to
conveyor
do
belt.
that. Yeah.
Well, I just happened to do it. I didn't know. I hadn't looked at the achievements.
Yeah.
I got quite a few of them accidentally,
But it's
like the
because it's
scanning you achievement.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought, well, that will clearly work, and yet for some reason it doesn't. Yeah. So that's where I am.
But
So
picking up the one on the conveyor belt is like important, like hidden
it?
Easter egg tells you shit.
oh, it does. Yeah, it says something
talks
about
about
mythology
stuff.
or something,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Really?
I needed to reload that and
I'll
because
go
I
back
wasn't
and-
concentrating.
Yeah, I'll go back and do this because, as we've talked about before, there's been a couple of secrets that I noticed
But didn't actually.
but didn't
give.
actually
Yeah.
do enough to make them.
It's like that.
Obvious.
It's like that turret. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it says I'm different. It's like
It's
but
clearly
it
something.
doesn't necessarily look like you can pick it up. It just looks like it's part of one of those junk
yeah.
piles.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I found myself reloading to try and catch Wheatley appearing in that section.
Oh yeah.
Because I see it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, that was definitely there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reload and check that. That's
Presumably,
like,
you did the awesome bit with the jump pad where he's
Yeah.
in the ceiling.
yeah.
That's
that's
really
really
cool.
telegraphed, but that's really
Yeah.
cool. And the bit where he fights the bird, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And
It's like,
all
oh,
that
birds!
stuff- all that stuff is
They
cool.
let that- yeah, they. Oh no, I'm going to spoiler territory there. No,
Yeah, okay.
I'll stop. Yeah.
Okay,
What spoiler for Dan? Even.
Yeah,
so how
Okay.
far through am I? Like a third, less than a third?
Less than. Wow.
about a third actually. Yeah,
I don't know if I'd call it a third because that middle bit is
quite
kind of long.
Yeah.
Good.
rather than the
Okay.
other bits.
Well, I'm glad I haven't used up too much of it, but I've got some
As I
observations.
say, I seem to think by the looks of it, I seem to have gone through it quite a lot slower than most people because and my clock was 7.5.
Oh hey, and that,
Yeah, so
that
it's-
brings up the thing that said I was going to say on the podcast. And once again, this is one of those things where basically straight after our last podcast, I did something, and now it's been 2 weeks before I can actually
Yeah,
talk
carry
about
on.
it. But I went back to Portal 2 because people have been saying there've been like some. People have been quoted as being like, it's physically impossible to get through Portal 2 in 4 hours or something.
Yeah, some of the early reviews were really quite adamant that they tried their hardest to get through it fast, and like the best they could manage was 4.5.
And it's like total bollocks, basically. They're totally, completely talking out of their ass. It's like not even close, because I just went through and I just ran through it. Because obviously I'd already done it twice already, so I knew more. I knew all the puzzles, and then there was, I screwed up a few times or whatever. It wasn't a literal speedrun.
Yeah.
But I ran through the entire game in 2.5 hours. So
Really? Okay.
it's like 4 hours, not even close. Unless they were counting the cut-off as well, but...
Well, I'm taking my time. That must have taken me 2 hours to get to where I am. So
Yeah.
working out all the puzzles and stuff. I'm surprised that quite early on there seemed like a puzzle that looked like it. I don't know if I wasn't doing it right, but it seemed like it would be quite hard to pull off on an Xbox controller, because it was the one where there's an aerial faceplate and there's a portable area right above it, but there's only a tiny gap where you fall through that portal before you hit the plate, and it catapults you back through that portal.
Yeah.
And in that time, you have to have fired the other portal away from where you started.
No, you don't have to do it like that.
I do not.
You
That's
portal
how I did
onto the plate.
It totally worked.
Oh yeah, but that's the
portal
thing.
above the plate, portal on the floor.
Yeah.
You jump into that, and then the portal fires you up out of that portal, and then while you're in the air, you move the one that's on above the plate, so you fall down through that portal.
Oh, you got a second one. Oh, I see. So that's like a double flip.
Yeah, there's quite a lot more time that way to actually...
Yeah, because then you're flying up, and you can
totally
see
works.
those higher platforms easier.
Yeah, so then you can shoot... Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Okay, I did a dumb ninja way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the... Yeah, I thought, how the hell are you going to do this with an Xbox controller? Because you could totally do it with the mouse.
Actually, when you think about the whole game in context, it's like, actually quite a lot of it would be possible on the Xbox. Probably more than the first game.
Well, yeah, that's what they did say, wasn't it?
They obviously tried to... Yeah, they're
It's like less mid-air changing of portals and stuff.
So yeah, I obviously got that one wrong, but that one confused me. But I got past it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Well, I did it pretty quick.
That's the beauty of Portal, isn't it? Find the alternative solution.
But there's not so much of that any longer, though.
No, there isn't. Especially as you get the more you go through the game. Kind of in the similar way to the first one, though. The more you go through the game, the more restrictive the puzzles get, and which naturally makes them harder because you can't just make shit up to solve them.
Well, it does seem like even at this early stage, there's a lot of restriction on the area of level that's actually portable or whatever, more than I noticed in the first one.
I suppose that kind of makes sense. Yeah, because basically in the entire first half of the first game, pretty white walls
everything.
everywhere.
Yeah, and it's much more restrictive, but that's how the puzzles are designed, so it's cool. The graphics are nice. I like.
Do you see what I mean about the awesome lighting effects in places?
Yeah, I love
the proper shadowing.
The one thing I noticed that made me go ooh was I think they've improved the water, because when you see a light bridge reflected in water, it looks uber cool. I don't know. I just really liked that.
Yeah, I think it's the same stuff they've had for a while.
Maybe,
but maybe they've updated their pixel shader so it's a bit crisper than it used to be.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Because I think it's the same shaders. I think because it doesn't. They always were pretty good, but now it's like because they've got higher resolution in pixel shaders, probably because of needing to do the portal effects, I guess. Yeah. In places.
I mean, the portals themselves look nicer.
Well,
a bit.
Yeah, no, they do actually. I'll give it. They're less obvious that they're just flat with some fuzz around the outside. It's clever because they actually, the inside of the portals is actually geometry rendered. They're not like a pixel effect at all. But a certain number of portals deep, they have to switch to to pixel effects, and even those look a lot better.
Yeah,
they still twitch when you.
I haven't seen them yet, really.
Yeah,
I've seen myself a few times. But
I don't think I ever looked through them.
I set
up
a couple of infinite tunnels just to see how they've improved it.
Yeah,
and
it's because there's just not as much portable wall. There's virtually nowhere where there is two walls facing each other that you can put portals on.
It's quite cool. It's like the portal depth option that they used to have in the previous game is almost unnecessary now.
Yeah.
Because you can see as far as your monitor can handle most of the time before it starts going into too small for pixels. But you can still notice the pixel shader shift when you walk through a portal. It has to rejig it slightly, so the sort of perspective a few portals in suddenly shifts, which looks a bit weird, but it's probably the best they can do at the moment. Until you have infinite geometry.
And I like the sound design as well. The music in all Valve games, even back to the first Half-Life, it's always been really good. As in, you almost don't notice it. Actually,
Half-Life 2 was a bit sort of in your face, wasn't it?
Sometimes,
occasionally, it would suddenly go. Because most of the game is silent, isn't it? Other than ambience, and then all of a sudden, music.
Well, that's kind of similar in Portal, when the action sequence starts, you got loads of...
but because there's so much sound going around, the music kind of just blends into the ambience, kind of stuff. I don't...
the first time I was with the light bridges, they were sort of making a kind of a music.
Oh, yeah, no, actually, it's the things you fire lasers into
buttons and stuff make noise.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They have like musical tinkles that go with them. So when you have lots of them working at the same time, they all complement each other.
That's it.
That's brilliant.
Because that's so cool. Because I was confused because I was looking at the light bridge and it looked like there were sine waves in the the bridge itself, and I was wondering if that was the notes that I was hearing.
The bridges would be cool. The bridges do make a noise, a musical noise, not just a buzzing. Yeah. They make a buzzing noise as well, but they have their own little tune.
But that's
like the lift things later on when you sort of go into them, and it's a bit more of a hard example because they don't really make much noise normally, but you sort of go into them and you get that different music when you're using them.
Yeah,
sort of and the sort of muffled sound of everything outside it, and it's
the attention to detail in that sound design is really good.
The only thing I have a problem with in the sound design is there's potentially 2 flaws. Oh, 3 if you include the one that was basically my system running them at the wrong speed. For a bit. But occasionally the music design I think is quite irritating, simply because they use quite sort of old school synth sounds, and it's like that's kind of, I think it's more of a taste thing on my part, but some of the sounds they use, like the ones from the trailers, that sort of lead sound that they have is quite old mod music sort of sound, that sort of lead thing, and occasionally I think that cuts through most of what you're doing. It feels too harsh given the sort of like smoothness of the world and this kind of nice, the whole sort of Portal experience is quite glossy in a sort of weird way.
Apart from behind the scenes
areas. But then you've got this, even in the sort of this sort of spiky synth sound coming through it all, and it's like it's a little bit too powerful. I found myself getting annoyed whenever I heard that noise.
Right. Okay.
And it's like I don't know, just bad, an irritating instrument choice, I think, for me. And the other thing was that occasionally some of the sort of world destruction noises would be abnormally loud. There are certain I think perhaps it tries to play too many destruction sounds at the same time, and you just end up with this like abnormally loud crunching of metal that seems quite a lot louder than anything else in the game, which is quite nice from an atmospheric point of view. I like it. I actually do like it, but if we're playing it at like 11 at night. And then all of a sudden it goes BANG!
Yeah. So loud when things are falling apart and stuff. Right in front of everything's crushing. And I don't know. The lighting, like when the Wheatley has the torch and it goes through all the railings, just the shadows are so good. I mean, there's so many bad shadows.
Yeah, it's not that it's not that I'd say the detail of the shadowing is higher than anything we've seen before.
It's just they made it dramatic.
It's just that it's dramatically done, and there's quite a lot of them.
And I really like the little effect when you look straight at the torchlight and you see the kind of rainbow halo thing. Yeah. I mean, you get that in real life, obviously, and that obviously someone's designed that little...
Well, you don't really get it in your eyes.
Yeah, but in cameras, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, you get it.
It's like a lens flare thing.
Kind of, yeah. It's like a subtle lens flare, but you don't really get... You get that sort of... When you're viewing it with your eyes, you do get a bit of flare, but it never really rainbows out or anything.
Not quite, but I still like that effect. That's quite nice.
It looks pretty.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely enjoying it. It's good. I like the way that GLaDOS keeps calling you fat. Now, I don't think she does that in the first game.
Well, I know she's bitter.
She does.
Sorry?
Say something
GLaDOS is
once
bitter.
or twice.
Does she?
It's not like... Because in Portal 2 it's more like repeated. It's like a running joke or whatever. Yeah. Whereas in Portal 1 it's more like everyone is an individual...
joke.
Yeah.
I just think it's the only game and one of the only entertainment things where I can think of where the lead character is female and the antagonist is female, and that's really the only main characters. And not to generalise too much.
I didn't know GLaDOS was female until like people was all sort of
well, like a female voice. You didn't.
Well, it's not really because it's the auto tune. It's not really obviously female, is it? It's just sort of.
You think it's more androgynous?
Just kind of smooth robot. I didn't really sort of associate a gender with GLaDOS until sort of it outright sort of starts referring to her as she, doesn't it? And,
it does.
And it's like you didn't, because you're silent. No one was ever referring to her in the first game. It was just GLaDOS talking at you and referring to herself as me, you know, so there was no gender attached to it.
That's true.
So I never made that association until this one, and it's.
I just think that, not to sweepingly generalise, but that is how girls get at each other if they want to, don't they? They call each other fat. So it's true.
Use weight and hair.
It's one of the worst things you can say to another girl if you're a girl, isn't it?
Yeah, you've put on a little bit of weight.
Yeah, that's the worst thing you can ever say. So
you look at, and then you try and justify it, and it's like, no, it suits you, it looks good.
Yeah,
and it's like, but they still don't take it like that.
That's just what GLaDOS does, isn't it?
Even if
you're
that's
looking really
true.
well. Yeah. Most people waste away when they've been 10,000 years.
Somehow you've managed to put on a few pounds.
I just think
it's
that's
just the way
really
she says somehow.
Yeah,
it's like most people do this. Somehow you haven't.
I just think it's really funny and it's kind of well observed.
Yeah, yeah, but it totally makes sense because I think I made this point before, but GLaDOS is almost too human for my tastes now.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
Because beforehand, the auto-tune was more wavery and it was more...
glitchy.
Glitchy,
it's more glitchy, and it's like, well, how has she got better from being destroyed once?
That's true.
Well, from being rebuilt, presumably. That reboot sequence that somehow reassembles all those random bits must be doing some fixing.
Maybe, but you know what I mean? It's sort of, I think GLaDOS...
And also...
while she's still good, it lost some of her original edge.
Well, yeah. And also, when she gets rebuilt, I guess she doesn't have the cores on.
No, that's true. The cores might have been fucking her up.
Because you don't really get that version of GLaDOS for very long at the end. It's just like, as she's blowing up.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at all the big environments or whatever, when you're outside and you see all the huge expansive, you see the test chambers moving and stuff.
Yeah.
Which was really
huge
weird.
environments. And it's kind of weird, but it's cool having this huge environment and what Valve are capable of doing. But it kind of made me think, well, this is cool. This is this crazy, insane Aperture Science underground. This is like a fantasy
lab that
thing.
can build itself.
But I kind of want to see what Black Mesa would now look like if it was made by Valve, And I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, what if it was... This is never going to happen as a game, because they do these linear games, but what if it was like... What if Black Mesa was like a Metroid thing, where you could move around it to all different areas and stuff? How crazy and awesome would that game be? I don't know. Anyway, because I don't think,
The trouble is, when I think about Black Mesa... I think about how you travel through the Black Mesa in the original Half-Life.
Yeah.
It's basically by things exploding.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to get through something, you just have to wait for it to explode and then you move on. So that doesn't really work in an explosion sense, because there's no going back after something has exploded.
There isn't, but that was deliberate. I mean,
that was because the entire place was exploding, was basically
their excuse, yeah.
They don't have... It's not the same as the Metroid game where you're just exploring the environment.
And the problem, one of the other major problems with making a Metroid game in the Half-Life universe is the gravity gun beats everything. So if you had that from the start, then most of the world could probably be explorable.
I mean, you didn't have it in the first Half-Life, so I don't know what it'd be like. I mean, Black Mesa Source is never going to come out, that mod. Jesus.
It's a shame.
2009, it said on that trailer.
Yeah.
Where are we now? Anyway, I just think that.
Maybe Valve should drop some support for that. It seems weird that they haven't got more involved in that, because Valve are usually incredibly supportive of the decent mod community.
Well, they are,
and this one was shaping up to be a ridiculously good mod.
I know, but it'd be hard to I don't know. It'd be hard to fully justify, because they might want to remake Half-Life in the future. I don't think they ever would, but they might want to.
They would either.
But it's more generous of them than almost anyone else to not shut them down, isn't it? Because they easily could, but they've obviously chosen not to. But it's not making any difference, because it's not going to come out. But they are literally remaking a game of an IP of theirs, aren't they? So I can see how Nintendo would have none of that, would it? Whereas Valve were like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
What was the mod called? It was just called Black Mesa, wasn't it?
It was originally called Black Mesa Source. Now it's just called Black Mesa.
Yeah.
But I just think that the Portal world is so fantastical and weird that it almost doesn't seem as impressive when you look at the world, because you think, well, this is like this is like Oz or something, or or this is like Whereas the Black Mesa was huge, but it was rooted in a kind of reality. There, so, and I
like most of Half-Life, it's got its
exactly.
Well, I mean, it's kind of strange because in Portal 1, before they had all their panels.
Yeah.
When they were just like panels, but not panels.
But not moving panels with
Well, yeah,
robot arms.
presumably they were the same stuff. It just didn't move.
I'm not sure if they actually were, because GLaDOS says things which kind of infer that the panels maybe are a newer development while you've been in the sleep.
But how would she know?
Well,
She's been dead the entire time.
AI, whatever. She's had backups, clearly. And, because, as soon as she resurrects, she does say, I was forced to relive the end of you killing me over and over and whatever, whilst he's been dead. But as soon as she reconnects, she suddenly knows everything. And, moving these chest shapes around all over the place. And,
I can't help but think it had... Yeah, you're probably right. I want to say that it's always been like that, because the look of the original game was all like that, wasn't it? There were panels out of place.
Well, but that's the thing that I find about that, because when you go through the start of Portal 2, when you're going in through what they say is like an old test track, and it is just like you drop through the ceiling into one of those enclosure rooms where the two portals open, you walk through and you see yourself.
Yeah.
Literally the same as the start of
same,
Portal 1,
yeah.
but now with panels and stuff. But when you go through that bit and it's got holes in the ceiling where you can see sun coming in and plants growing down and stuff, it's that is the very top level of the aperture, and then I think below that is where the panel rooms start coming in. It's there is actually a transition there, you just don't notice it so much.
There's different substrates of aperture size.
Well, there is, but you haven't quite got to that bit yet where you'll see the real outcome of that. But I think that it's the panels section in the big cave is sort of under the original portal.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Which is kind of weird to... It's it seems less advanced in the original portal, but it's higher up.
Yeah.
Maybe they started digging and then they got deeper as they went along. Who knows?
But then that all flips around at the end.
Yeah.
Because it's
wow, okay.
But
I will soon find out. Okay. Anyway, so that was Portal. And the other game I've played this week, I've played 10 minutes of Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, really?
The full thing, or a demo? Or...
I didn't realise
it was out. A demo?
It's not out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went to this BAFTA thing, this Q&A with Randy Pitchford.
Yeah. Randy, that dude.
Yeah, they had stations set up with the Xbox 360s with Duke Nukem Forever available to play. I think it was a demo.
Holy crap, this is the second time we've got breaking news before the event.
Breaking news!
Barely.
So yeah, I played it. So what do you want to know?
How big are his balls?
Can you look down and see them?
They literally had a guy there.
Do they clink as you run? Are they literally made of steel?
Balls of steel. Well, it didn't really slow you down as far as I can tell. But, there was a guy there literally dressed as Duke Nukem, and he was so muscly that he did actually look, and he had all the hair and everything. That was pretty crazy. It was quite short.
You asked him if he had balls of steel.
No, but he would have said yes.
Duke Nukem the tits.
Yeah, so that was kind of crazy. So I played this level. It started off with a fairly generic sort of drive the big truck of... what they called? Big
rigs? Or
no, the 4x4...
Hummers or...
Monster truck.
Oh, monster truck, okay.
Monster truck, so I drove the monster truck.
Do you drive it?
Yeah.
You literally drive it?
You literally drive it.
It's a driving section.
It's a driving section. It's a very linear canyon that you have to drive down while being bombed by aliens, sort of Half-Life style, but much more constricted. And it was very short, and there were some frame rate problems going on there, but I don't know if this is pre-release, because it's not long till release.
No,
but
not. Well, and also, let's not worry about it, because you can get it on PC.
Exactly.
So if there are issues with it, they won't be on PC. Yeah,
you'll have to blast through those issues, but I did notice some frame rate things. And then it was just a sort of shooting section in a kind of desert area. And but what struck me was how...
Well, actually, I'm remembering the original screenshots back from the Quake 2 days, and it wasn't a monster truck, but it was Jeep in a canyon in a desert scenario. So actually, they kept it. All
that
this
was
time.
the original thing. Well,
wow.
One of the questions that somebody asked was how old is the oldest piece of content in the game, and it seemed like none of it was more than 2 years old, really. So,
oh my God.
'cause they've taken all the stuff and gone through
just
it.
Kept
and iterating loads of stuff. Yeah, apparently there's one model which is 3 or 4 years old, which is a statue in of one of the aliens. It's not even the actual alien model that moves around. It's just a statue in Vegas or something.
Well, that's the oldest resource.
Yeah,
but
that's what he said.
That one might be a legitimate like tribute or whatever.
Yeah,
to
it
take
could
a really
be.
old model and just put it in the game as a statue.
Easy.
Because that excuses it having shitty geometry.
Exactly. I think there's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff going on. But it was like old school gameplay with like shooting guys and
Proper health bar.
them having health bars. No. Now that's
Regen
the thing.
health.
Yeah, regen health, which is interesting because it's kind of like Halo 2, as far as I could tell, in that you have two layers of it. You have a shield that you can see a bar of.
Well, Halo 2 got rid of the right,
and then you have a hidden health, which
Okay,
is
yeah.
kind of makes your screen go red, Call of Duty style.
Okay,
So you got both. So the actual shield you can see on screen, which only really pops up when you're taking damage, is labelled ego. So, like, you have a big ego, but then as you get shot, your ego goes down, and then you actually start getting hit, and the screen then goes red.
That's
So
a
you've
really
got-
good excuse for his power, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm invincible and I'm cocksure of it.
But it kind of looked kind of cheap on the HUD because it was just literally a bar, like a white bar that labelled ego. It didn't have any cool Halo. This is an awesome shield.
Yeah, this
It
is
goes,
a HUD
"Whoop,"
or-
and stuff. Yeah, it was just literally ego. And so yeah, regenerating shields, checkpoints, and you can only carry two weapons.
Okay. So they're taking a Halo approach.
So it's kind of the Halo approach, but otherwise it's fairly old school. So you've got there were a lot of guns hanging around, so you could constantly mix it up. So it's like, now I've got the shotgun, now I've got the shrink ray, now I've got the Ripper, which was the three-barreled machine gun thing.
I never knew what that was called.
Yeah, there's a lot of old school Duke Nukem weapons. So yeah, the shrink ray, I didn't really, because basically I got to a bit where there was the shrink ray and then like three of the pig cop guys, whatever they are, they're the aliens or whatever, come around the corner. And I shrank one off the other, and I think you're supposed to go up and stomp them,
Yeah.
but it didn't seem to... the stomping, I didn't know how to do it. I tried like meleeing them after they wouldn't get stomped. I think I was doing something wrong. Anyway, they kept regrowing and shooting me properly before I could stomp the other guy. So I was like, at the end I was just like, no, shotgun time. And there was like a railgun, which was like the sniper rifle, which was really powerful. But then at the end of the section, there was just a big flying like helicopter, alien spaceship boss, and it was literally like a boss where you just shoot it and it has an invisible health bar, and once it gets to 0 it will crash, so you had to hit it and there was an RPG thing and an infinite ammo crate, just like Half-Life style. But the thing was that there was a piece of cover and you could just hide in and pop out, and because you had regenerating shields, you could just do it forever, presumably. So they hadn't really designed around the new mechanics of that, I suppose.
Maybe.
It was kind of interesting.
So are you worried that there maybe at some point during the game's development there was this mechanics switch, but the design of some of the levels perhaps hasn't changed to accommodate it?
I don't know. I'm not sure, because it makes it sound like it has all been relatively newly developed, so I don't know when... I wanted to ask him, that was my question, but they didn't actually get to me in the Q&A. That was my question, was going to be, how did you decide how many sort of modern mechanics to put in there? Because if you look at Half-Life 2 Episode 2, that's got health packs, and
Yeah, it's quite old school.
it hasn't got checkpoints. It's got...
You have to do quick saves.
It's got quick saves.
The only checkpoints are the levels, essentially, every loading pause,
and
which are quite far apart.
Exactly, and you can carry 15 guns.
Yeah.
Whereas it's a modern shooter, right? I mean, it's one of the best shooters ever. But Half-Life 2, and by extension, Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Whereas this is supposedly old school and like a refreshing return to old school gameplay.
Well, this is the thing. I
It's
suppose the problem they have is that if they went fully old school, they'd be competing directly with Serious Sam, and then it wouldn't be particularly fresh. Because
like
Serious Sam got re-released and has that fresh feeling at the moment. And
It's like Serious Sam was meant to be almost a tribute to Duke Nukem.
oh yeah, exactly.
Going around in a circle.
It is almost
Yeah.
entirely a tribute. But the problem was, if Duke Nukem was to now go, oh, we're going to do it properly old school, it would be like, well, yeah, but we've got Serious Sam these days. You're not doing anything new, and so they probably would have had to make the concession. Actually, no, we're going to have to change tack on this. And even though they're now copying modern shooters, which isn't new either, which is a catch-22, maybe they thought, oh, the combination of old school action with modern mechanics, perhaps the gunplay plays out quite old school, but the
I would say it does.
But the actual health mechanics are new school, so it's that blend that's interesting.
Yeah. The gunplay was... it was interesting that all the guns had personality like they used to. It's not like Call of Duty where every
gun's the same.
Every gun is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So it was quite nice. Not that... obviously Halo has a lot of variety in guns and stuff. Probably more than in this, actually.
Well, no, Halo's always taken the approach where if they feel that a new gun doesn't add it, they won't make a new gun, or even a variant of that gun. It will just be nothing but that gun.
Yeah.
Hence why the SMG was removed from Halo 3.
Yeah.
It's after Halo 3, because Halo 3 had both the SMG and the assault rifle. And they made the decision to take that out.
Yeah.
Because the SMG and the assault rifle were practically the same.
Yeah.
And it was only useful in Halo 3 for dual wielding, which was underused in Halo 3 anyway.
Yeah.
So they took it all out, and it's like, smart decision. We've taken away guns, but it actually works. So, I'm all behind that. If less guns actually makes things slightly more reasonable, then that's fine. Carry on about Duke Nukem, but there's a very important point there, because that's part of one of Brink's many problems.
Oh, we're going to find out soon.
According to the reviews and stuff.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I've heard not good things.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take away from Duke Nukem.
Anyway, so Duke Nukem, so it's not that... It's fine looking, surprisingly, considering what a train crash it could have looked like, I suppose. But there were some frame rate problems, but I don't know if that was pre-released.
Yeah, it's pre-released.
So we'll see. I have to admit, people were laughing, and it was fun. You couldn't even hear the things that Duke was saying in the game, because it was so loud in the area that I was. I don't know. I'm not really interested. But it was hilarious. It was kind of fun. I can't say whether it would be more fun to play than Bulletstorm, though. I guess that's the competitor. Do you know what I mean?
You're probably right.
In this space at this time.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I'm not sure. But it was kind of a blast from the past, and I enjoyed myself then. It was quite funny. One of the Xboxes that were there, I think this happens with demonstration units, because they were the old-style Xboxes, the white ones, like the ones we have. And it was in a unit, and it was being heavily used, and there were a lot of people around it, and then it red-ringed. It was kind of funny, but apparently I think it might have been just the overheating warning, because it was flashing.
Well, they do
wasn't
say
like constant.
Oh, okay.
So that's
so it wasn't the 3 lights. It was
3 lights, but they were flashing. 3 red lights.
Yeah, they flash.
Oh right, in that case, it red rings.
It's a proper red ring.
Yeah, I saw a red ring there. That was quite funny. So I moved to another unit, but everyone was laughing. But it was just like a good atmosphere, I think, around it, surrounding just the game in general. I think that probably is true, because it's just sort of fun and crazy.
Yeah. I think it's definitely one of those things I will play, but not necessarily something I will buy straight out.
Yeah, I definitely not.
It's something you have to do. There is no way around it. If you're any kind of gamer, I think Duke Nukem Forever is one of those things you will have to do because of the legend of it.
You have to experience something. Yeah.
And it's like, after all this time, I would feel bad if I didn't ever actually sort of hook into it. It's part of gaming lore.
So I went to this Q&A with a guy, Randy Pitchford, afterwards. It was mostly talk about Duke Nukem. I mean, he mentioned Borderlands a couple of times, but I didn't get to ask him any cool, crazy question about potentially guns, because it was a press event for promoting Duke Nukem, so he wouldn't have wanted to talk about Borderlands. But he's obviously keen to make more Borderlands, because that's kind of his thing, or their thing, at Gearbox. So,
well, yeah, it's not often Gearbox actually do...
I mean, they got Brothers in Arms, but, yeah...
But it's not often that Gearbox do stuff off their own back, is it? They've kind of made a name for themselves as taking on good franchises and not fucking them up.
Yeah, they're good at that.
Whereas, as you say, Borderlands is one of their few homegrown babies.
Exactly.
And it did really well for itself. So, unsurprisingly, they're quite attached. I wouldn't be surprised if they're really attached to it.
So that was interesting. I mean, they made it sound like he always wanted to do things for the passion of it and stuff, which was very important to him. And he was saying how the suits kind of, they assume that people want the same thing over again, or like Call of Duty, like that works, so everyone make a modern shooter. Whereas he's like, well, you could easily watch a horror film, and the next night watch a comedy, and it should be the same with gaming. And it made it sound like he was probably under pressure to make a modern warfare version of Brothers in Arms, which they will never do.
No. Well, Medal of Honor had the same problem, didn't it? It's like
that went totally wrong.
Yeah,
so
it didn't work for them.
So yeah,
too many fish, far too many fish.
So yeah. It's kind of interesting. I mean, somebody tried...
Is that the right phrase?
So many fish.
Yeah, I was
in the sea.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
that's not quite right, is it?
I don't know.
There's plenty of fish.
Oh, you're thinking of too many chefs.
Ah, yeah.
Spoil the broth or whatever.
Well, yeah.
But that's not exactly right either, because then you're saying that the games are chefs. And
this
the
is
broth
not...
that they're spoiling is the genre.
But they are, actually. You know what? That kind of works. There are too many Modern Warfare style games.
Yeah.
There are undeniably too many of those. And the problem with that is it takes away from Call of Duty's thunder, which is deserved, undoubtedly deserved amongst the rest of them, but it just makes me feel very meh to the genre as a whole.
It's literally the marketers, because not too long ago there were too many World War II games. It's literally the same thing. It's just a fan thing.
And too many rhythm games.
Yeah, at least we got Duke Nukem coming out and Bulletstorm and things like that, which make a bit of a difference.
Breaking the mould.
So yeah. The kind of exclusive, because there were a lot of journos there, I think. Me and Stephen just came on off the street and we had some tickets, but I don't know if they can check them. You could probably just wandered in and played Duke Nukem Forever. Anyway, but a guy was asking about, would he ever have a sidekick? And he said they were thinking of it, and that it might be in a future game or something they might do with Duke, but they didn't want to talk about the character. And
so
and
that's
they said,
interesting. So that alludes to that they have future plans for
possibly for Duke.
It's not just a pick up forever and finish it because of the kudos that they'd get for finishing a 12-year-old game.
They're considering doing stuff. I mean, I suppose it depends on how successful this is.
Duke still does have marketing weight.
Exactly.
Somehow.
Well, it's surprising, the number of people that were like 5 years old when Duke Nukem 3D came out that are of...
That's, actually, thinking about it, this is the other Serious Sam based point. Have you seen... Serious Sam is going even further back in time by doing a 2-dimensional Serious Sam platformer game with guns. So it's like, hang on a minute, they've done a Duke Nukem style rip-off, now they're making an original Duke Nukem style rip-off. It's like, holy crap, they're definitely playing that game. Although they do have one ridiculous feature that is brand new and has never really been seen in a game of its type, in that you can literally strap guns together into a giant gun frame and then fire them all at the same time.
But that sounds like that stupid ancient polygonal side-scrolling shooter I had, where when you kill enemies, they break up into little bits, and then if you attach the bits to your ship, those bits can still shoot.
Yeah.
And then your ship becomes huge, and you have to try and avoid, because your huge ship can easily be broken by a single hit.
Well, it literally looks hilarious because he holds the bottom gun, and then there's literally just a stack of them vertically upwards, all attached. So then he goes, BANG!
That sounds hilarious. Oh dear. So anyway, this sidekick character...
Yeah.
First of all, somebody asked him, would there be a sidekick? And he was like, well, no, Duke would never have a sidekick. But then he said, well, they were thinking of having, like, a gay robot sidekick. I mean...
That doesn't make any sense.
I know, that's what I thought. And it's like, well, at first he said he was gay, and then somebody else in the audience was like, what do you think of homosexuality in gaming? Or whatever, because as a gay gamer...
He owned himself there.
And he said, well, actually, he started talking a little bit. The character said that actually he'd be a robot and he would have to sacrifice his nuclear atomic reactor inside in order to save the planet or something. It sounded quite crazy.
If Duke was to ever have a sidekick, it would have to be a fairly reluctant relationship, wouldn't it? And you could make... or a woman. That would be the other side of it. But that's the thing. They could do two, couldn't they, in the same game? One he doesn't want to be with, that eventually perhaps gets replaced, or that, he wants the woman as the sidekick but can't have it. There's some potential comedy in there.
That could be funny, yeah. But it did make me think a little bit about some kind of homosexuality in gaming and what that's like. Because the guy in the audience mentioned that Fahrenheit game, Indigo Prophecy, as being a good example. But there aren't that many good examples. Because I always think of it as like in The Sims or something. And to a certain extent in Mass Effect, it's literally a switch. It's like, it's not... a gay character, it's just because they've had the character can be romantic with, and there's a yes if is male, yes no statement somewhere in there, and they've just said, oh no, we are modern people, we are tolerant of all sexualities, we'll just make it so that they're equally attracted to any sex, right? But that isn't really a gay...
They've made bisexuality not
gay. There's no gay culture at all in there. It's just a sort of thing.
I suppose the Ballad of Gay Tony isn't a particularly good benchmark.
Well, that's the only person I could think of was Bernie in Grand Theft Auto, because he's a kind of flamboyant gay character that would be a total stereotype if it wasn't for the fact that he comes from the exact same background as Nico. He's literally one of the soldiers from Serbia that saw the massacre and stuff, and the way he's reacted to it, instead of going on a crazy vengeance quest, he's just decided to be fabulous! You know, so, and I haven't actually played Gay Tony, so I don't know the Tony character, or what he's like. He sounds like an angry...
Apparently he's gay.
He sounds like an angry man, but...
Thinking about it, there aren't really camp or actually just... comical raging homosexuals, you know, if they were, even in bad taste games like Bulletstorm or something like that, I don't think they ever really approach the subject.
I mean, do you think, because C-3PO is like the sort of gay camp robot, isn't it? Doorbell.
Potentially. No, I saw him coming, but never mind.
We go to Disturbed.
I think they might be ringing around it. I think she noticed we were recording.
Okay. But what about 343 Guilty Spark? Is he a little bit camp?
I suppose he is.
He's not really. You can't call him floating orb robot camp, really.
Do you think? I don't know, but there really aren't very many good. So more decent gay characters, I think, in video games. I think.
Okay.
Maybe there'd be some in L.A. Noire.
Oh, yeah, as I say, I don't think it's a subject they really need to dance around, but for some reason they do.
They do. It's odd. Anyway.
I'm not saying I advocate it either way, you know, I'm not saying I would actually like to see more gay characters, because that's... I don't know, I don't think they have to potentially, you know, hold back. It's not like I'd suddenly want to see the gaming market flooded with gay games.
No, but that's never going to happen. So, I'd just say...
You know, I'm just saying that they you know, I don't think they have to be scared of the fact that, you know, if they've done pretty much everything else in video games, why is this one still... not about?
Because I was thinking about Liara in Mass Effect as like the only one who's kind of a bit lesbian, but she isn't, because her race only has one sex, doesn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah.
So she's kind of a cheat lesbian. And if you're the guy in Mass Effect, you can't sleep with a guy, can you?
Not in 1, you can in 2.
Oh, can you in 2? Oh, that's a bit better. Naomi's looking worried.
There is someone outside the front door, it is Cat. Oh, wait, name drop, sorry.
But who can you sleep with in Mass Effect 2 if you're a guy?
There's the door.
After all that avoidance, you phoned your mobile upstairs to try and avoid disturbing us. So yeah, what were you saying? Oh,
who can you get with? Yeah, in Mass Effect 2.
I think it's Jacob.
Really?
Yeah.
But he's not gay.
Jacob's gay.
Is he gay?
I don't know if he's gay, but he'll go for it. Apparently.
This is one of those things where it's like, we're about to die. Oh, what the hell?
Because if he is, like, I never noticed or anything.
Well, he's not obviously gay.
No, but that's okay. But, I don't know.
It's not like there's... Well, his face doesn't really allow for much in the way of, like, the odd...
Every expression.
Yeah, no, he doesn't just stand there and occasionally just sort of look you up and down with his eyes, does he? That would be a nice giveaway.
That's what the female shepherd does to him, though. It sort of looks up and down. It's in quite a comedy fashion if you choose the right options, I think.
Awesome.
If you did. I didn't.
Wait, hello.
Right, hello.
I always thought those conversation trees should have more extreme options at
They're
the time.
quite extreme sometimes.
Which woman do you get with if you're the woman in Mass Effect 2?
I don't think you can unless you stick with, like, Liara from the first game. I think that's right.
Can you not go Quarian?
No, you can't.
No, she's straight then. Okay.
You can't go Miranda.
I think you can get the receptionist one on Kelly.
Yeah, you can get Kelly Chambers.
From both.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really count. She's not actually a character.
Well, she's a character, but she's just not a player.
She's your personal email assistant.
Yeah.
Fish feeder person.
She does seem overly keen on bedding everyone.
Yeah. She died in my playthrough.
Alright, by the way, shush. I don't know if
Door
you can
is
hear that
slightly
in the
open.
background.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shut the
So,
door.
sorry guys for noise interference of a non-comical ice cream van way.
As if we don't get enough noise interference from a lot of other stuff.
Children!
Yeah.
Right, so that was Duke Nukem Forever. I don't know what else you want to know about that. But I think
Did Gearbox drop anything else? I mean, yeah, it was a Duke Nukem event, but was there, other than the sort of slight Borderlands talk, was there any little tidbits on... you know... How do they feel? You know, what you know,
He seemed
how is
happy.
their welfare?
he seemed quite
How are
happy.
they working conditions?
Like some people are trying to ask him about like Duke as a misogynist character and whether he has any place in kind of modern society, but he totally brushed it off. And he obviously doesn't care about that. He thinks Duke is awesome.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's fair enough.
I mean,
But he
no,
has
yeah,
to
doesn't-
think Duke is awesome.
He-
That's
yeah.
his job.
Well, the thing is, Randy Pitchford, that was his first good job, was working on Duke Nukem 3D. So he kind of knows.
I suppose he has a bit of an attachment.
He says he owes his career to Duke. So.
Well, maybe that's why Gearbox took it up in the first place.
Yeah, well, he did know the guys, yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I can see why people would ask that. You know, it's kind of a sort of, you know, modern, slightly worried about PC, perhaps, question. But then again, when have video games ever been PC, and when has entertainment cared about that? As long as it's entertaining, why the fuck does it matter? They've done their job.
People always care. Regardless of anything that you might think.
It'd be worse if all video games were like this. I think it's alright that
true.
this one is...
There's
yeah.
only so many dick tits I could stand.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How many? More than one?
No, I mean, yeah, games that constantly talk about dick tits, maybe.
I don't think there is ever going to be another one.
I don't think I can ever stand physical dick
Something.
tits. You know,
I guess they did
as
set
that
up for a
pic.
sequel, supposedly.
I was about to say, I don't
Yeah,
think we can
okay,
ever-
we understand
Yeah,
the concept.
we don't want to talk about that.
Let's not go into that again, even though I totally made that joke just then.
Yes.
I set it up. I really shouldn't have.
You set them up and then I knock them down.
Down into the dirt of gutters.
The intergutters.
That was an amazing sort of anecdote or sort of simile type thing. Into the dirt of gutters.
Yeah.
We're going to have
Right.
to use that one more often.
Okay.
I think we should move on to what Zach's been
I think
playing.
we should, because we've only got like...
Half of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Go for it.
And I've been playing probably more than you lot. Yeah,
Fine.
Yeah, I know, but we had breaking news.
yeah, that's true.
And
That was kind of important.
Oh snap, breaking news.
And you've got more to talk about, haven't you?
Apparently.
You can
Slightly.
Okay. Zachary Burgess.
Well, yeah, I guess I can go through several things, and one actually new thing, rather than just way casual repeating the same things that I played it every time.
Let's hit the new stuff. I think that's the most important.
No, let me get one of the
Okay.
shitty things out of the way first. Well, not shitty.
Let's actually try not to talk during this so we can get it over and done with.
Yeah,
That's Arcadia.
No, actually I haven't.
Come on.
Mainly because I don't have a TV in my room any longer, so too much effort to go downstairs and use the other TV.
Wow. That. You know,
I'll get it done eventually, I'm sure. But
the less I think about that reason, the better, I think, in terms of...
also, well, you know, because people want to use the TV, apart from
Yeah.
me, so it's inconvenient.
Anyway, we've done... Oh, sorry, I've done it again.
Yeah, that was our bit about Size of Arcade, I guess.
Yep. Get out of the way.
I played SpaceChem and actually properly finished it. Got all the achievements. So now Steve is like, "You got all the achievements in this game. Congratulations!" And I'm like, "Sweet," because after I actually attached it to Steam, so it could recognise the achievements properly.
Alright, so Steam actually has like a completed thing, does it? Like Xbox Live.
Well, yeah, it's just like a one line where underneath the achievement bar it says, "Yes, you've got all of them," instead of saying, "Here's ones you haven't got yet."
Oh, okay. Yeah. Even so, it's nice to be congratulated.
Yeah. So it's like, I got all of those, and then I went through their stupid research journal thing where they're uploading the new ones, and did all of them, eventually, although one of them was really stupid, where it was like, you see the incredibly obvious solution, where it's like, you just do this, but then that doesn't actually work, and you have to come up with an incredibly convoluted solution to do it, and I'm not sure that was actually intentional. I think they, submitted, because obviously when you're making a puzzle in Space Game, you're just saying, this comes in, this goes out, and you're not doing any of the actual process.
Right.
So I think they saw, the in and out of it, and thought, and then, visualised, this is how you do it, oh, it's really obvious. Because that's what I did, because the first time I was like, oh, it's really obvious, just do this. But then that doesn't actually work. It's like, because it's rated like as quite an easy puzzle.
Oh,
And I'm like,
And it
I think
clearly
someone,
isn't.
I think someone just looked at it and was like, yeah, that's obvious. It's like,
didn't playtest it even once.
yeah, didn't actually do it to see that it's not actually easy.
But yeah, at least you can do it.
Yeah, you can actually, because I thought it was broken, and I was like, I can't possibly see a way to do this. But then I went and like, because of the YouTube upload, obviously, I was just like, maybe I'll just YouTube that one puzzle and see if there's any solutions. And then there was like 3, and it was like, oh, you actually have to do it in this incredibly ridiculous way. Oh well.
Oh wait, so did you look at it? Did you cheat actually? Essentially,
Yeah,
like,
basically.
see that you saw the solution.
I was fairly convinced that it was impossible and broken, but it wasn't.
Well, close enough.
Yeah. It was pretty ridiculous. So yeah.
So is that? Would you consider that the top tier of SpaceChem's difficulty?
What, ones that seem to...
Ones that are broken.
Yeah, ones that seem broken. Yeah, maybe, I guess.
But are actually doable.
Well, it wouldn't have been so bad if it had been rated as a difficult puzzle. As if it was just that suspicion that they thought it was easy but hadn't realised that it didn't work like that. But yeah, so I finished all them up. Still waiting for more. I want more. I've actually got back into playing SpaceChem, but now I've done all the puzzles again. It's like, ooh, upload more. And then I made my own puzzle and submitted it. It's like, maybe you can use this one. I'll just add some more puzzles to your file. So if I'm incredibly lucky, maybe I'll appear in SpaceChem. Lol. My actual name. Or Zeg, I guess. Yeah. Not my actual name.
Well, Zeg... Oh, no, because if you put Zach, that might have given you leverage with Zachtronic Industries.
Yeah, but he already has his name on some of the puzzles as Zach, only with an H. So I guess I would still be different there.
Possible.
I don't have an H on my shortening.
No.
It's shorter.
It's a more efficient shortening.
Yeah, indeed.
Exactly. So yeah, that was SpaceChem, and it had been on sale all this week, and I was hoping someone else on my... Because now with the update, they put in leaderboards, so you have your nice sort of bar graph score method where it shows you where you were on the bell curve, basically, where it's like, I was incredibly average because I'm at the peak of the curve, or whatever. But now they actually made it so you can tab and bring up like a leaderboard where it just shows you your literal score on each of the 3 elements. And it's like, but I still don't have anyone on my Steam list who owns it, so I don't have any competition. It's like, god damn it, somebody buy it, it's half price, but no one did.
Who would even want to play SpaceChem other than you?
I've got quite a few people in my Steam list.
Yeah, no, you know.
Like 20 or something. I was hoping for at least one. But no, unfortunately not.
Not yet, anyway.
Well, there's still like several hours left, I guess.
Are we done with SpaceChem?
Never.
No offence to it, but because do go and support it. It is a good game in its own right, but I'm a bit bored of it now.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's awesome. Rock Paper Shotgun really like it as well.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, severely. So yeah, I guess when they got it, it was like, maybe we've already seen 2011's Indie Game of the Year on the 1st of January because that's when it came out.
Wait, well, it did it.
Yeah.
Like, even officially. I thought it was like one of those games that hung around for a while, but didn't actually...
No, that was the official release date, was the 1st.
So you hadn't played it before then?
No, I got it pretty much on the
I suppose you're right, we haven't really had any indie gems.
Well, I mean, that's not necessarily painting. It's like it's the best indie game this year because there haven't been any other ones.
No, that's true. Well, they haven't really.
There'll be another one of those
there's been a few
ridiculous platformers with a crazy art style, like Braid or.
Well, there is this.
What's it called?
There is this one on XBLA, but I don't think it's an indie title. I think it was Ubisoft developed or something, so it doesn't really count. But it is kind of like a platformer, but with a Carragher style.
Oh, I think
sort of like elements called Overworld.
Oh yeah,
and it does look pretty good, and it has all the hallmarks of an indie game, but it's not an indie game, so it doesn't count.
It's boxed as well, isn't it? So it's
no, it's XBLA.
I think there's a box. I think there's a box version. I think I saw a box art for it. I'm not sure.
Maybe. Well, they
but I mean,
on XBLA. They
yeah, I meant literal box art.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that. Okay, let's talk about the one new thing because it's. Once again, it's time to say, God damn it, Steam Sales, stop making me buy shit.
God damn it, Steam Sales.
Wait, was this part of the EA sale then? You
no, it was a midweek madness the next week after the EA, or the week before, or sometime after the EA thing. There was a midweek madness of like a load of Calypso games, that kind of shitty game company.
Oh, yeah, I saw you were playing Tropico.
Yes, Tropico 3, because I had sort of been interested in that. I had sort of been interested in the original, but then clearly that wasn't a very good game at the time.
Is it like an economic strategy title?
Sort of. So it was like, once it got to Tropico 3, I was like, oh, it's starting to look almost like a proper game at this point. They've got their shit together.
Is this the one where it looks like Castro is like looking over the in the box art?
That's the box art of it. The tropical island with giant Castro man.
So what's it about?
It's very similar to those sort of management games in the sort of Pharaoh Glory of the Roman Empire style.
It's kind of back in the day, where there was a lot of sort of sim-ish games.
Yeah.
They were trying to do something a bit.
Well, it's basically like it gives you a weirdly shaped bit of land, which clearly would never exist in the real world, and it's like cram a city into that.
Is it randomly generated? Or?
No, there's missions, and there's also sort of some kind of random generation. I'm not sure. I haven't actually tried the sandbox mode, but supposedly you can choose like how large the island is and its like elevation.
You can reticulate some splines.
Yeah, probably. Probably some splines will be reticulated. But yeah, it's basically a game about like being fake Cuba.
Yeah.
It's like you become the dictator. Well, not necessarily dictator, but like El Presidente. It's what they always call you, of course. You're El Presidente of a fake Caribbean island, and the US and USSR are like
fighting each other.
Well, sort of diplomatically involved with you with regards to your possible missile basing and army basing and that kind of stuff.
Ooh.
And you're like, so you're,
Can you ally with either side, or do you have to be pro-Russia and anti...
No, I think you can possibly ally with either. But it might be like... obviously, I haven't got to the main sort of... Because it's building it up through the missions where it's like introducing more complex concepts. So I haven't really got to the literal sort of nuclear, standoff or whatever kind of mission where it's
crisis,
like literal heavy involvement, or like... there have been a couple of missions where it's like the CIA assassinated someone or other, that kind of thing, where it's like, and it's like, do you want to announce this to the world so you can piss off the US, but then get cash bonus from the USSR or something, and that kind of thing. It's those kind of like balanced decisions where it's like, if you do this, your status with one side goes up, and there's other factions as well apart from the USS and the USSR, like your actual island inhabitants, like the loyalists or the intellectuals or the Greens.
Oh, I see.
So you're trying to like please everyone to stay in power.
Quite a bit of internal politics to deal with.
Yeah.
So what is a mission?
Well, it's like basically you have an objective, which is
population.
So far they've been kind of pretty simplistic, where it's like export this amount of goods or stay in power till this date. Where it's like, where that one maybe is the simplest one, where it's just like, don't cock it up for 20 years. But it's one of those, that sort of Pharaoh and Glory of the Roman Empire city strategy building game, I've always found kind of weird, because when you're building like your city or town or whatever, it always turns out that the sort of service and industry buildings always take up a lot more space than the actual houses.
Yeah.
Which makes it look really strange.
Yeah, there's a weird element to all sim games like that, isn't there? Where your residential area seems unnaturally small.
Yeah.
For the actual sort of mechanics of a working city.
You'd think it would almost make sense in this situation, because it's like, you can build slums or whatever, really shitty buildings. Except you actually kind of can't. It has this kind of ingenious system where, like, if people can't afford your actual housing, they just build shacks, and like they build them literally next to where they work. So like around your industrial buildings, you get like a few shacks if they can't afford to live somewhere proper. And then but you can build literal shanty towns, except they're really huge. It's like they're not actually space efficient at all. It's like you build a shanty which is like, it's not square based really, it's like size based, but they're quite large and they can only house one person. And then there's like the next building up from that, which is like the bunkhouse, which is like you can have that. Its default rent is like 1, which is obviously the lowest. But that can house 3 people in effectively the same space. It's like, so slum shantytowns are actually not actually any use to build.
It sounds like they've taken the sort of SimCity approach, isn't it? Where you zone density.
Well, it's not.
Rather than, but you can't zone by quality.
Yeah, you're not zoning anything.
You're building buildings.
Smacking down an entire building.
Okay, yeah. But even so, it's kind of suffering from the same problem. It's like SimCity doesn't ever give you the option of having dense but shit.
Yeah, you can't say only low wealth people live over here.
Yeah. You have to just have a bad area to develop.
Yeah,
And
you have to have like less schools or whatever.
Then you get the high wealth stuff degrading and looking like crap.
I suppose that is kind of natural, but by the sounds of it, in Tropico, it sounds like having dense but shit planned is kind of.
Well, it's like basically
would have been a good idea.
You don't use all the options. It's just like tenements, always tenements, because they're easily the most dense residential zone, and they're also shit. So that's basically your default stance is tenements all over the place. And then if you go for like condominiums or whatever, or apartments, which are slightly less awesome than condominiums, those are actually really bad because they're like huge, but not very many people live in them, which doesn't make any sense because they're still an apartment block. How would they take up all this space? It's like one person per floor.
Yeah, not great.
But yeah, so
does anybody not live with anyone else?
Well, they live in pairs if they're married or whatever. They don't all take up their own floor.
They don't simulate families then.
Well, they do sort of. I mean, it's like every slot in a building is a double slot, but the second part of that slot is only occupied by the married person of that pair, and then the kids don't take up space.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, it's kind of a weird.
Does it have streets and cars? Are they really old 1950s American cars?
The casual
Cuban style.
Yeah, very Cuban. Everything is El Presidente, and it's actually kind of funny because you make your avatar, your El Presidente guy, but at the start of every mission, you kind of set it up for the mission by choosing his background and and then you have what is it? It's like rise to power and background are the main ones, but then you also have your pros and your cons basically, where it's like your good characteristics and your character flaws. And then you have to kind of balance it all together to make your ideal setup. And obviously the flaws are the funny ones.
How does it affect the gameplay then, the flaws?
Well, it's like they all give you specific bonuses to one thing, and then
it's like Civ for choosing the leader or whatever.
Yeah, sort of. Except it's sort of customized. I mean, obviously they prevent you from taking one or the other if those flaws don't matter. You can't be a coward and a hardcore militaristic guy. Or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's obviously you have to choose them and kind of balance yourself. But then some of the flaws are kind of funny, like compulsive gambling and alcoholic. I like alcoholic because it's alcoholic gives you some. I can't remember what the sort of bad thing about alcoholic is, but even though it's a flaw, it still gives you a bonus to relations with the USSR. Which is kind of funny.
That's really funny.
And then you get flatulence, where it's
that's a terrible flaw.
Yeah, that is actually quite a bad flaw because it doesn't sound bad, but it gives you negative relationship bonus to both the USSR and the USA, and it makes all your palace soldiers demand incredibly high wages.
So you stink. I don't want to be near you unless you pay me loads.
Yeah,
danger pay.
So that's the kind of funny, weird system. And then, it's kind of strange because, your guy is literally a guy in the world as well. So you can just, run around and...
Oh, really?
Apparently there is combat, but I haven't got to any missions where it's happened, where, rebels... Where it's if you piss off people enough, they turn into rebels, and then they go and hide in the forest, and then, your military and the rebels clash.
So,
in the Settlers or something. Is it? I don't know.
I don't know how it works. It does seem to be and your actual guy can be involved in combat or something. You can run around and disperse process or motivate factory workers and make speeches.
Speaking of sort of running around the town and stuff, I've never actually seen any actual screenshots of the game. I've always seen that promo shot, and it's the sort of box art style thing.
Yeah.
How does it present itself? Is it taking the SimCity 4 graphics approach of sprites, or is it 3D?
No, it's 3D. It's a lot it is a lot like the Glory of the Roman Empire style, where you're laying out the roads, but it's not grid based. It's you can make free curves and stuff, and then you just jam the buildings in as best you can.
Okay, yeah.
It's providing providing their polygons don't overlap with anything else, just grab them in.
Can you rotate them?
Yeah, you can build free curved roads, but the rotation is 16 directions or whatever. Yeah. You mouse wheel it to rotate things around.
Oh, cool.
So it's a full 3D free camera. It's not fixed into 4 directions like SimCity or anything.
Does it look tropical and hot? And
it actually looks pretty good and has some fairly decent post effects and stuff. When you zoom out, it all gets heat hazy and
cool.
Is Tropico, as I say, actually quite a well produced think. So, I don't know. So there's something about the way I've seen it come up where it looks like one of those sort of slightly substandard PC games that often turn up on Steam.
It sort of is, because it's a Calypso game, and they're sort of... They've been well known for making kind of semi...
They're not really
quite
a high-budget studio.
Yeah, it's not. It's like not quite... I mean, I think they do that Dungeons thing that I talked about before as well. I think that's Calypso as well. So they've done some other things.
That looks alright, quality-wise.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's actually okay. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. And for £5, it was cheap enough.
Yeah. So for £5, do you think £5 is the appropriate price point for this now?
No, I think it could have been. I would have bought it for more probably. But I'd basically only been paying attention when it was full price and £5. So I didn't see the gradual fall off in between.
Yeah. No, I find it interesting to know with these games that sort of have perhaps a slightly, as I've just proven, a slightly less than great perception just purely on first impressions and outside sort of... Well, as I say, I hadn't seen any screenshots. All I had to go on was the fact that it had relatively quite a lot of Steam coverage on their sort of main bar, but for some reason I didn't sort of make the association that it was actually a sort of relatively high-tier title. A bit like Mountain Blade.
Oh, yeah.
Because that actually is considered...
Quite a good simulation.
Quite a top-tier PC product.
Yeah.
But I've never made that association from purely what I've seen on Steam.
Yeah, that's one that hasn't gone click with me, although I do know like a couple of people who are like totally heavily into it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you remember that Industrial Tycoon or something?
Well, which one?
Industry Giant.
Industry Giant, that's the one. It wasn't quite...
Yeah.
It was good, but it just didn't quite... Like,
that
company that made it was...
J-Wood, yeah.
Yeah.
That one especially was one where that was less. That was one rather than Tropico where it sort of looks quite good, but maybe isn't very complicated. Industry Giant 2 was like that one actually traded more on its actual quite difficult missions, and you had to be efficient and like design this, but it didn't look very amazing.
Yeah, okay.
That was kind of the other end of that scale of slightly dodginess.
Yeah, okay.
Should
we spend the last amount of time we have possibly discussing what is the unknown to us but reported failure of Brink?
Well, we maybe could mention it.
Because...
but of course we don't know anything about it, so
well,
it's going to be difficult.
But true. But Brink was always one of those weird things where it sort of, throughout its entire campaign, I've had that kind of mild interest in it because at first it looked like it had quite a lot of style.
Yeah.
And, the excessive parkour,
the
semi-Borderlands style setting when it was first announced was quite original.
Yeah.
In the wake of Borderlands, it doesn't look quite so much like that.
Well, maybe.
But apart from this sort of ridiculous, nice trade-off between Shantytown and the Ark's sort of main world, that's quite nice. There was this absolute balance. It was kind of had a bit of I kind of had the feeling that it was maybe the sort of Haze extreme opposite sort of feel to it, but done right, with a proper game behind it rather than the unfortunate Free Radical shitness. Sorry, Free Radical, you did suck with that one. I kind of had these high hopes, I like the style, I had even just the sort of marketing look for, the Brink logo, for instance, kind of have a sort of Mirror's Edge chic to it.
It does have some kind of style there. But it's a little bit, sort of, I don't know, clinical or I don't know what, because I was watching some of the preview videos before it came out, like explaining the HUD, and it has like a woman talking in a very deadpan voice. I don't know if you've watched them.
She's a bad choice for those videos.
There's a sort of sleekness, but it has no personality to it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Anyway.
Although apparently...
And from what I've seen from the game, that's entirely true of the whole game.
Yeah.
Although from what I've heard, apparently, although it's like we say no personality... It's sort of still no personality, but apparently there are a lot of ridiculous accents and stuff. Like, all the voice work is totally insane.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. From what I've heard, the voice work is insane, and it has personality in the sense that you can put your own personality quite heavily on the character through its enormous visual customization options, which are apparently ridiculous. The level of stuff you can put on them is both cool and vast.
Oh, cool.
But also pointless.
But also completely pointless because it's visual and you can't see your own character. But in the same way that most FPS, you can't see yourself.
But you're not going to be really looking at the enemies either. necessarily.
Well, no, but it'd be quite nice. You know,
Right.
it means you'll never actually be facing the same faceless goon. You know, you'll always be.
That's cool.
The guys you'll end up playing against will be varied, and you know that's cool. Yeah, it's not like even TF tries to alleviate that with its crazy ass fucked up hat system and like stats and stuff. But no, these guys will actually properly look different all the time, and it's like maybe that's to play into the game's like anyone could be any role. Philosophy in that they can give you that level of customization because you don't have to be attached to your class quite so much. But then this leads us to one of the game's many flaws that I was trying to define earlier, in that the game encourages you to spend more time working on a upgrade tree for a single character, but then conversely has this you can be any character at any time system. Meaning that if you're one of these gamers, that's a bit like me actually, where you end up, or Zach for instance is a good example of this, where we end up specialising in certain styles of play when we do these class-based games. You can't, because it's, the game's not designed like that. It has an experience system in the same way as a class-based system is.
Well, I'm not entirely sure about that.
No, I want to see that.
It's not like in Team Fortress where, you can change class whenever you die. It's not like in Brink where you can run back and change class while you're still alive, but
you can though with the.
But it's less.
Well, you can, but in very specific cases.
And it's also kind of less important in TF because most of the time. I'm not
there
saying
are
all the
only
time.
4 classes in
you
Brink,
can grab you 5.
Is there 5?
There's 5.
What's the 5th one?
Soldier, operative, medic, engineer.
Yeah,
and you're right. I can't remember the 5th.
4,
yeah. No, I'm sure they're 5 because I've seen pictures of the radial wheel have that sort of 5 segment.
Yeah, it didn't look like quarters when I saw that video.
No, there is a 5th. I just can't remember what it is.
I just don't understand why they're so excited about the fact that they've managed to disengage classes from weapons.
I like that. I think that's a great idea, but
I don't
because then it's your abilities rather than the guns.
Well, it'd be more interesting if then the abilities were more interesting, because it doesn't seem like they've done very much for the abilities.
They're quite varied.
They're varied, but they're not amazing.
The mine thing is kind of crazy and interesting, the way that you can't see enemy mines unless you're like a spy, and then you can see them, and then you can flag them, and then
and then your team can see them.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of interesting, I suppose.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I think the roles are quite nice and well defined. The bit that gets me about the whole thing, though, is it suffers from original Team Fortress lack of content. From what I've heard, there's like 6 odd maps from the off, which is quite a small amount for an online-based shooter. It's not like they have to have many at launch, but because it doesn't have much of a single player to back it up, it's a bit of a...
no single... It's basically...
The single player is the multiplayer, basically.
Yeah, the same thing.
I'll come to that. There's more to talk about on that front. But, it seems like a surprising lack of content for something that's been in development for quite some time. And also will probably not benefit from a Valve-style level of support. So, we can't be sure, for someone to make the investment on so little without the promise that there's going to be more later on.
And to be fair, there wasn't really a promise for TF2, but it didn't matter.
No, because it was a bundle in an orange box. It was, if it did well, what the hell? It doesn't matter. But because it's become such a big thing, they can feasibly sell it on its own because it did so well.
Exactly.
But Brink doesn't have that background. And because, I don't know, it sounds like a risk for them to sort of be going in with a full-price title with so little content. And to be honest, some of the presentation doesn't look that hot anyway. The parkour element that seems to be play quite a lackluster role in that it's inconsistent with the amount what you can interact with in the world. The whole climb from what I've seen in videos, the whole climb over everything approach actually isn't really prevalent. There are a lot of objects you can't do something with or you can't climb that look perfectly climbable.
And it's not incredibly useful in any case.
No.
That's a shame because that was the one thing that I was excited about.
It was trying to set itself apart by combining those elements with combat and it could have been amazing.
Yeah.
But maybe they just couldn't get it to work, so dropped it. Or, not dropped it, but made it less important.
And apparently it also has the... Because, like, one of the manoeuvres that you can do always freely is the old butt slide.
Oh, yeah.
And so everyone is just butt sliding everywhere all the time. Because obviously that makes you really difficult to hit when you suddenly go from standing to sliding.
Flat, yeah.
It's like dolphin diving in Battlefield, only
Yeah.
significantly less stupid looking.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people have been saying that's just one of the game's both upsides and downsides, is that because it's cool to do, but annoying to fight against. And that,
I wonder what happens when two people are butt sliding and they collide. I hope they just don't stop or something.
That would be hilarious. But, just even in that, you sort of reminded me of actually watching it. There are some... I don't think it's very polished, actually, from a visual standpoint. What happens in the game world in itself. Most of what happens in TF is quite slick in terms of how it looks and how things happen in the world. Or, even Halo, apart from the obvious ridiculous glitches, look fairly... really good. Bodies just don't disappear in the Halo world, or they probably do, but you never see it. And it's... but things like that. Whereas in Brink, a lot of stuff just seems to just appear, or just disappear when you do it. Like, you could have had a nice...
So what have
animation
you seen of this game then?
Reviews and stuff. I've been watching quite a few. Like Game Trailers review is quite good for showing you the flaws.
All right.
In its sort of visual presentation, and even Zach commented on this as well. People don't die very nicely, do they? They just sort of
jiggle and then.
They look odd. They fall down like almost immediately. It's like I'm trying to think. It looks very familiar, but I can't place as to where that look comes from. A bit of me is sort of now thinking it looks a bit like the Deus Ex deaths, where they just don't look right. They sort of almost too fast.
Well, the Deus Ex
like
ones
standing up floor.
The Deus Ex ones were maybe not necessarily too fast, but they were very stiff.
Yeah,
very stiff.
It was like.
Because they fall to their knees and then splat.
Yeah,
but this looks fairly similar. So
I can't remember.
There's a stiffness to all the look of it.
I think I know what you mean, because I'm getting the feeling that it's like something that I can't remember. That kind of sudden jerk between being alive and going...
It's weird, and this is exactly against what they were marketing the game as. This flowing, sort of free combat trailer has turned into a very stiff stand and shoot.
Yeah, and maybe it's... I mean, they probably couldn't have done it, because it's a first-person shooting. You have to have first-personness, but... The way they showed it in the early videos, you were like, oh, maybe you don't imagine the gun always being at the bottom right of the screen. You imagine it like moving around the edge of the screen as your character vaults over stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do a lot of that parkour in reality, but even in the world of the game, you still have to kind of move the gun around.
Yeah.
So even if it was attached to like a clip to your, I don't know.
There are another... You talked about the weapons as well, and
What's the lethality like? How long is an engagement? Is it like 2 seconds, like Call of Duty?
Well, it doesn't have head zone shots, so it's not like you can not be a snap shooter, and a headshot won't be instant kill, for instance, and presumably unless you're using a precision weapon, of which, from what I've seen, I've never actually seen a precision weapon in use. Everyone seems to carry the SMG or machine gun variants, of which there are hundreds. Probably literally hundreds of variants. All of them are the same, by the looks of it. Although this is, again, one of the weird things. The system looks, for doing the guns, the customizing gun system, looks amazing. Because it's like, you can quite literally build the guns out of parts, like what we were talking in Borderlands should do.
Yeah.
And they have that system. It's in Brink, but...
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't seem to matter, no. And it's...
Whereas if it was in Borderlands, because everything is so exaggerated, it would naturally exaggerate those tiny changes. Whereas in Brink, you're making tiny changes, but they are literally tiny.
Tiny changes, yeah. So I suppose there is quite a lot of playing you could do there. And that's the other thing. The menu looks completely detached from the real game. It's like they've gone... Okay, the Brink menu looks... very much like Dirt's menu, with the sort of floating stuff in the background and the very clean look. Which is, that was always a bit of a weird sort of distraction in Dirt, but it was cool at the time, because nothing had done a menu quite that slick before.
Yeah.
And it's, but yeah, Brink's is the same, and it's like, again, it makes sense perhaps if you're playing on the Arc team. But if you're playing as the Renegades, or whatever they're called...
They should have a grimy
looking sort of grungy menu, but no, everyone gets this super clean one. And
I found it kind of stupid how in their sort of advertisements for Brink that I've been seeing, the little 20-second adverts or whatever, their little thing at the end where they show the two sides, it's like the security forces are like, we must save the Ark, and then the resistance guy's like, we must escape the Ark, and it's like, why don't you just agree?
Yeah, there's no
just kick them
problem.
out.
Yeah, they leave.
That's not a fight.
They leave cordially, and
I think it's because they won't provide. Yeah,
I mean, there's backstory to it where it's like the rest of the world is fucked up or something, and this floating island
is the remains of civilization. So perhaps they escaped.
It's like they basically all the slums came up because the Ark got built, and then they were like,
overpopulated.
This is a nice place. Everyone come and live here, and they were freely inviting immigrants, and it was like, whoops, we've invited too many slums.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the world got fucked up, so no one could leave, and it was like, oh fuck,
we're stuck with these now. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still quite intrigued by it, but there seems to be quite a lot of negative press. Oh, yeah.
So basically,
I know we talked about. I mean, I know we're running out of time drastically here. We've got 2 minutes on our normal timing, but it's.
We can go forever.
We can now with a new setup, but so we have.
But we don't want to.
But yeah, the other weird thing is that. But the weird thing is how you set up games. There is no matchmaking system. There is no. Well, there sort of is, but in order to start a game, you can't run a server at the moment. On the console versions, you start a single-player game, or join an existing game.
But that was meant to be sort of there,
and people organically join in a running game.
Yeah,
right.
And the AI gets replaced as people join and things like that. But from what it sounds like, it seems like this system is the only way to do it, and often you find yourself having to start a game against yourself, and then the joining system is a bit flaky and it has no party system, so you can't. At the end of every game, the entire team gets disbanded, regardless whether they're friends of yours or not. You know, the online for an entirely online game, they've made some ridiculous missteps. It's just like it's consoles party system. That's a given. Anything that doesn't have a party system is flawed. So
can you not use the Xbox Live party system? Or
you could have but you'd still the party system would still work in the sense that everyone would be in a chat room. But they'd get kicked out of the physical lobby.
Right, and
okay, maybe party system's the wrong word. Lobby system. There's no lobby system.
Well, I mean, I hear you could make like friends-only games or whatever inside Brink. So I guess you could sort of get around it by making friends-only, getting all your guys in, and then toggling it or something. If you can toggle it.
I'll be honest, who has like 16 Xbox Live friends?
Well, I didn't mean to fill it. I meant get all your friends in first before the random people fill up the slots.
Maybe, but that sounds like a lot of management that shouldn't be there.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah, maybe you don't get that on PC. Maybe the PC version has more traditional dedicated server approach.
I don't think so.
Fail.
Right, should we wrap this up then, guys?
Oh, we still didn't talk about everything, but we spent a good long time talking about random other shit.
I've been playing quite a lot of Final Fantasy, but I suppose I don't.
And I've played quite a lot of Team Fortress 2, and there was an update for it.
We'll save those up for next time.
Now that you've mentioned Team Fortress, good summary of Brink, as in it's not Team Fortress.
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
But you, to be fair, you quite like Monday Night Combat, you know, I mean...
Yeah, but that's quite different.
Yeah.
In good ways.
That's what we were hoping for.
And Brink just looks like it's...
So there you go. So it's not impossible to compete with TF2, you just have to be different enough, like with Monday Night Combat, and not be like Brink.
But Brink wasn't trying to compete with TF2. Brink was trying to compete with multiplayer Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, they split their... fell between two stools.
It's like Battlefield or whatever.
Yeah, too many cooks
you're exactly right. It falls into the too much of a genre mash and hasn't worked.
Right. Anyway, we'll talk next time. We will talk about some games we've actually played. In addition,
it's good to have a news episode.
Yeah, good to have news.
Eventually, we will do the Portal spoiler cast.
Indeed, we'll look forward to that next time. But for now,
I'd actually better get my stop button ready. Then it's not going to stop itself.
Indeed.
Well, it doesn't matter. We can just cut it.
If you want to do some editing. Too much editing, too much messing around.
No, can't do that.
So we'll just have to talk for several minutes while Rob gets ready to push the button, and this is going to be great.
I could just walk over to the computer, but then then you get Mexican Rob. It's like for the goodbyes.
But now you're looking at the computer, so you're going to sound different anyway.
Thanks. My voice straight on. My voice at an angle. I bet it sounds the same.
I can tell you it doesn't.
It probably doesn't. Yeah.
So I guess anything else we need to say very quickly before Rob pushes the button?
Bye.
I think that's it.
We haven't covered bye yet.
Thanks for joining us on the Saladcast, and we'll catch you again next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
So, yes.
Too many fish. Far too many fish.